Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could take sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valutainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Early.
Wow.
Early.
Wow. Good morning. Good morning. Depending on where you are while you're watching this. Anyways, I feel like we haven't done a podcast to cover some of these stories. I feel like we've had 2 weeks worth of stories over the weekend. There's a lot of weird things going on. There's a bridge that just went down in Baltimore early this morning, I think 1:30 in the morning. P. Diddy is having a rough last couple days, man. And 50 Cent's been having a lot of good times on Instagram last couple days. If you want to entertain yourself, go to 50's Instagram account and just read his commentary while he's posting. I will talk about what happened with Diddy. Candace Owens, people are asking, Pat, do you have any thoughts after Candace Owens and Daily Wire, they broke up? It didn't, whether it's fired, stepped away, agreement. What are your thoughts on that? I haven't commented on it because I think we had Ruben on Thursday.
Yep.
And then it happened the next day. And we'll comment on that as well. Aside from that, we have a few other things that's going on. Trump, Truth Social, valuation, increasing his net worth, potentially $3.4 billion with a $3 billion windfall to him. We got some details on that. The civil fraud fine decreased from $450. We'll cover that as well to, I think, anyways, we'll cover the numbers so you know what happened here with Trump and then compare it to some other people in the past on what kind of bail they had. Some people had actually ripped people off, like $50 billion worth of ripping off. A guy from New York, how much his bond was, this guy named Madoff, or another guy named SBF. What was his, with all the billions of dollars that he flat out, based on all the reports that we read, stole from investors and others. What kind of a bail did he have? We'll cover that. Aside from that, Frank Luntz points into the camera with direct warning for Letitia James. If she seizes Trump's assets, calls it pathetic. You have to see when he's saying this, why he's saying this. Ronna McDaniel finally comes out after getting a job at NBC, and she says that the 2020 election was won by Biden fair and square, okay?
That's called the deep state swamp. She's a swamp creature.
And by the way, shout out to Vivek for coming out flat out and calling it out in the open. For some of you that are getting ready for this weekend, just want to let you guys know, guys, Christ is King. It's and I'm saying it with my friend here. We have a Old Testament, New Testament camp.
He is the king.
By the way, obviously, that's
anti-Semitic right now. I don't know if Adam, you're right.
It is. We'll talk about it.
Get out of here, guys.
Adam left.
We'll talk about it. I actually want to get his take as well. Elevation Church, who has this pastor that's gone viral. He's actually a very good motivational speaker. He happens to be a pastor as well. They have decided not to use the word resurrection on Easter invites. And when they explain to you their reasoning, it's kind of weird. I actually want to get Tom's thoughts on that. And then California unemployment rate. Ready for this, folks? I mean, you shouldn't be surprised. California unemployment rate is officially the highest in the nation. California has the highest unemployment rate in the nation. They should see who ABC News blames for that and who they don't blame for that. What else we got there? Chuck Todd blasts network NBC as backlash to hiring ex-RNC chief Ronna McDaniel. We'll talk about that. Russia attack, death toll rises to 133 in Moscow. Terror attack, 11 suspects arrested. Putin says gunmen who raided Moscow concert hall tried to escape to Ukraine. Kiev denies involvement. Bill Maher had a few things to say this past weekend. He rips government for censoring dissenting opinions about COVID-19. And then he panics over Trump's gain with young voters. Biden might lose because hot dogs cost more. And then he rips Dems for pandering to minority voters. Move on from identity politics. It is no longer working. CEO of Boeing steps down amid slew of safety concerns. Five Below fights back on theft by reducing self-checkout. And then there's a couple things that's going on with Migrant Gate, Russia and El Paso, highlighting friction between federal and Texas border enforcement. You have to hear what our friend Karine Jean-Pierre had to say.
Oh, she's
after
brilliant.
She's
brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, just
so
her level of, just a whole different story. And by the way, to the people at Forbes, used to be a place for capitalists, used to be a place where entrepreneurs would go read Forbes. Today, it's a place you go to if you believe in socialism. And, if you believe in illegal immigration, reduces taxes for everybody. Because here's what Forbes just wrote. They said, research shows immigrants benefit U.S. taxpayers. Can you imagine the company that was once started by a man and his son, took it to a whole different level. Then they sold 95% of it to Chinese investors. Says immigration benefits U.S. taxpayer. I can see Tom Insider writing that. I can see Variety writing that. I can see a lot of other people writing that. I never thought in a million years Forbes would be writing an article like that. And then we got a few other stories, but we'll start off with that. Let me also, did I say the Diddy rate? We talked about Diddy rate, and we have to talk about Ohtani, man. Ohtani is a very interesting situation. He's actually potentially may get credit for Pete Rose ended up in the Hall of Fame, the way he's doing certain things, and I'll tell you why my thoughts are on that. Couple other updates. Rob, do me a favor. Can you pull up, I'm so proud of you guys out in the audience, go to YouTube and type in BizDoc. Last week on Thursday, I challenged you guys to show your loyalty, and you did. Tom was at 29,400 subs. After last Thursday's challenge to all of you, you proudly showed your loyalty to BizDoc. Tom went from 29,000, not to 34,000, not to 38,000, to 45,200 subs. The most subs ever he got during that time. We have a new strategy. I think Tom was telling me he's got a new strategy on how to get to 1 million.
Can you guys beat the shit out of me right now so I could get some type of
strategy and all the history aside?
PBD?
Thank you for your support. I'd like to thank everybody for your support of the BizDoc podcast, proudly published by Valutainment under the Valutainment media umbrella. Thank you so much for getting behind it.
Yeah, and by the way, Tom, your that strategy is 15 away from getting to 1 million subs, which is pretty exciting.
What strategy was that?
But awesome. I love the fact that he supported Tom, and he does a show. He does a phenomenal job. You guys can go check him out. Aside from that, for those of you guys that watch the podcast regularly, and maybe you have hot tea like me with honey, or you drink your coffee, to the coffee community, I'll most likely join you guys in 5 years, but at this point, I still don't need coffee. We have these new mugs. And by the way, this new mug that just came out is the PBD Podcast mug with Future Looks Bright on it. So let me kind of show this to you, and I'll tell you what we're running on this podcast. And Kelly took care of this. Let me pour this so I don't burn myself.
Taking one. I'm acquiring one of those after this.
This here. So you pour the hot water in there if it's hot.
Ooh, magic.
And guess what it turns into, by the way, while you're having this hot tea or the drink. Let me see if this thing is hot. It is hot. All of a sudden, slowly but surely, you see the color changes.
I see it.
To the PBD Podcast colors.
Oh, that's sick.
And yes, you'll see the red and the blue of PBD Podcast color coming in. I don't know if the
Pat, you're like one of those models on those late night, like by the QVC.
Back in the day.
Your PBD QVC.
Here's what we're doing. We got the Valutainment mug. You have four different options on whichever one you want to get, whether it's the gold, the black, the red, the OG, red or the black. You buy two, you get the third one for free. Pick and choose which one you want. The link's going to be below. The discount code's going to be PBD Mugs, I believe. Right, Rob? PBD Mugs, plural. PBD MUGS. And what's the website to go to? VTmerch.com. Find the mugs, order two, and you'll get the third one for free. Support the show here while you're watching it. And, go order two of those. You'll get the third one for free. Having said that, let's get right into the podcast. Okay, first story I want to get into is Trump with what happened with a civil fraud fine. Here's some things that we need to know about on this case. 13 Trump properties that New York AG Letitia James can go after if he doesn't pay up. So this was a story from last week. They're going to go after this property. They're going to go after that property. Everybody on the left was fired up about them going after all of these properties, and they were so excited about it. First one was a Seven Springs. The property spanning over 200 acres in Westchester County was fraudulently valued by Trump at $291 million. Remember, this article is written by Insider, just so you know. So the words they use, you can see certain words they're using. Whereas its actual net worth is $25 million, according to Forbes. So this one here they can go after. They can go after Westchester Golf Club, which is valued at around $15 million, assessed initially at $15 million, depending on what the number. Again, you're trusting what insiders saying. 40 Wall Street, okay, is the other one. You got Trump Tower XXX apartment. You got Trump Tower commercial space. You got 1290 Avenue of Americas, Trump World Tower, Trump Park Avenue, okay? They're saying it's worth $101 million, but claiming up to $350 million. 6 East Street, 57th Street, Trump Plaza, Trump Park, Trump International Hotel and Tower, Trump Palace, all of these things they wrote. You know which one they didn't write? They didn't write Mar-a-Lago, because even CNN, when they said Mar-a-Lago was worth only $18 million, later on they came back and said Mar-a-Lago can be sold today for $240 million. Even they realized what the value was. However, Trump can now post smaller bond in civil fraud case. New York Appeals Court granted Donald J. Trump a significant victory by accepting a bond of $175 million in a civil fraud case, providing relief from a potential financial crisis. This smaller bond offers a crucial lifeline for Trump, preventing the New York Attorney General office from collecting the judgment while he appeals. Trump's lawyer argued that the trial judge $454 million penalty was excessive and unconstitutional, emphasizing the likelihood of overturning it on appeal. The penalty stemmed from accusations of inflating net worth to obtaining for favorable loans, leading to interest payments, et cetera, right? Anyways, so this just happened, Tom. How big of a deal and how big of a victory is this for Trump?
Well, it's a victory for Trump, but it's a return to sanity for the court. When you have a judgment like this, when you go to appeal, you have the opportunity to wait. If you were to look at all the judgment, look at the asbestos case, look at the, what was the Camp Lejeune that had the water purification issues and the poisoning of soldiers. You take a look at all these fraud cases, nobody gets a nickel till all these cases, they get appealed. Nobody gets a nickel because we have due process. And so asking him to put the full amount up is like saying, never mind, we're not going to worry about, the appeal process or due process. You just put the money here. Well, she wouldn't get the money. It would be held by the state. And so bringing this back down is just like bringing bail down. You know, when you've committed a crime or something, they have bail to ensure that you'll show up in court. And so moving this down is the right thing to do because it's what happens in our court process. They were treating him differently. This is a return to sanity. This is the right move by the courts. And by the way, there's a lot of people not speaking into the microphone that want this to happen because other civil fraud cases and stuff, they don't want it to happen either.
Yeah. By the way, do you know what was the amount of Bernie Madoff's scheme? Can you pull up what Bernie Madoff's scheme was? How much money did he scheme from people?
They gave him life in prison, right?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Can you pull up how much
life?
He's dead now.
What's the dollar? Watch this here. In 2009, the Southern District of New York charged Bernie Madoff for his $64 billion securities fraud Ponzi scheme. It was one of the most prolific financial crimes in American history. It is the most prolific financial crimes. Do you know what his bill was? Do you guys know what his bill was?
No.
I want you to guess what his bill was.
10%.
Okay, 10% will be $6.4 billion, right? Do me a favor, go pull up.
No, not that high. No,
go pull up Bernie Madoff's bail amount right there. December 2008 was arrested and charged securities fraud. Madoff posted a $10 million bill in December 2008, remained under 24-hour monitoring and house arrest in the Upper East Side penthouse apartment until his guilty plea on March 12th in 2009. This guy stole $60+ billion from people in New York. Just $10 million. This is actual Ponzi, like it's actual scheme, like theft.
Yeah.
And it's only $10 million. Go ahead, Tom.
And by the way, it was 24-hour monitoring and house arrest because you want to know why? They were scared that he might go somewhere, that there would be no extradition. Something that big for a guy that old, he's only got 20 years left. They thought he would flee the country. Is Trump going to flee the country? No. He wants to stay here and run it.
He's the most recognizable
now check
person
this out. Go to SPF. Can you go to SPF real quick? What did SPF do? SPF lost how much money? We know the number. It's $32 billion. I think it's what the number is. If you want to kind of, if you type in, he lost $32 billion overnight. That's the number. But if you zoom in, type in 32 billion, zoom in right there. FTX was valued at $32 billion. Okay. So what's his bill? Can you put up SPF's bill amount? Okay. Sam Bankman-Fried, bail amount. Yeah. $250 million. Okay. On how much money? On
32
$10 billion, $32 billion, you put 250. So now these guys actually did a crime.
Yeah.
Both of them.
And were flight risk.
Yes. Both of them committed a crime. On the other end, everybody got paid. Appraisals were done on both ends. No lender is coming out, but you go after him to deplete of all his savings and his cash for a crime that's done by who? Way of doing business in New York that's been like that for decades? You want to do something like this? If this stands the way that they're doing what they're doing, can you pull up the video of Frank Luntz, by the way, on what he said, Rob? I think these kind of go together. If you go to Frank's video, here's Frank, okay, and what he's saying. I don't know if that's the video.
No, that was
if you okay, check this out, guys. Sweetheart of a lady. Go play this clip real quick.
I want you to remember this moment, and don't forget it. If the New York Attorney General starts to take his homes away, starts to seize his assets, it's all going to be on camera. Pundits are going to sit there and scream about this. This man cannot be elected. You're going to create the greatest victimhood of 2024, and you're going to elect Donald Trump. If they take his stuff, he's going to say that this is proof that the federal government and the establishment and the swamp in Washington and all the politicians across the country and the attorneys generals and all of this, that this is a conspiracy to deny him the presidency. He's going to go up in the polls just like he went up every single time they indicted him.
It's wild.
He's right.
But do you agree with what he's saying?
He's 100% right. And the past polls that have been going on for a year now, when Georgia, when Stormy Daniels, when all this stuff, you go after him and the polls go up. We have the evidence of that happening for the past year.
And Tom, none of their tactics are working. And let's say it out loud what's happening. From 2016, they cheated with Hillary and the DNC. Didn't work. 4 years we had to hear that bullshit. And then we had to have all the impeachments, right? 2020, COVID from China, randomly, our lab, BLM, Antifa, in the streets, everything, cheating, got them out. This is cheating out in the open. This is them going, hey, listen, we know he's number one. We have to take him out. They're not even hiding it anymore. And I think every time they do shit like this, and you nailed it, Tom, his numbers are going up and they're making him look out to be a freaking martyr. Adam. Period.
So, like I always say, FTM, follow the money. By the way, breaking news with everything that happened with True Social, Trump has now doubled his net worth. Trump's net worth, I sent this to you, Rob, is now...
We're going to get into that in a minute.
$6.5 billion. So I know we're going to talk about True Social, but always follow the money. So we've always talked about how back in the day with JFK or whether it's Abraham Lincoln, it was actual assassination.
Right.
Lately, it's turned into character assassination. What they've realized with Donald Trump, you can't assassinate his character because he said everything in the world and beyond, yet he's still here. Mm-hmm. So now it's financial assassination, and that's how they're going after him. So Letitia James, look, I don't know much about her. Here's what I do know. 2018, she called Trump an illegitimate president. She said that. Cool. So now the election interference, it's sort of making sense. By the way, there's a whole DEI woke narrative, straight, rich, white, billionaire, patriarchy, black, female, woke agenda. There's a storyline right there. But the thing I know about Trump, Teflon Don, like this guy doesn't quit. I sent you videos of like whether you like Trump, don't like Trump, love Trump, hate Trump, there's certain things that remain to be true. This guy does not stop.
Bro, have you had tea today or not?
I have tea. It's fine.
Where's your tea?
I'm warming it up, baby.
Well, where's your tea?
I can't afford one of those cups.
Take this tea.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'll be good.
Drink your tea.
So you're not going to kill Trump. Here's just some videos to put it in perspective. Play this one right now. If you think Trump is going away, Democrats, this is his mantra. Check this out.
Never, ever quit. Never quit. And I've seen people quitting. And if they would have held out longer, they would have been successful. I've seen it so much. I've seen some of the most brilliant people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. They were just quitters. They would quit. They just couldn't take it. They couldn't whatever. Now, you have to also have flexibility, though. You can't necessarily say, I'm never giving up, and you got to be able to weave and bob. You don't have to go through a concrete wall when you can go over it or around it or under it or something. You have to have flexibility. You have to always be able to change course a little bit, but don't quit.
There you go. So, whether it's 175 million now that they reduced it to versus what, the 575, whatever the number was, this pales in comparison to what Trump dealt with in the 90s. This guy owed almost $1 billion, $900 million to be exact, when the bankruptcy and the casinos and the hotels basically shut down. So he's used to this. Look at him now with Truth Social, $6.5 billion. Whether you like him or don't like him, this dude don't give up.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll see what's going to happen here. And let's get into the next story that you were talking about, Truth Social.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this just happened, guys. Like literally a day after they're trying to get this guy to go away, Truth Social merger throws curveball into presidential race. This is a Hill story. Former President Trump Truth Social merger deal adds a financial twist to the presidential race, aiming to close the fundraising gap with Biden, who has been significantly outraising Trump's campaign. Trump faces financial hurdles due to ongoing legal battles, including a looming deadline to post nearly $500 million for civil fraud, trial bond. Trump's leadership PAC, Save America, spent nearly $3 million in legal consulting fees January, another $5.6 million last month. But the multi-billion-dollar merger with Digital World Acquisition Corp, where Trump is poised to be the majority shareholder, raises questions about its potential to address financial strains. The deal could potentially generate, ready, $3.5 billion for Trump, although regulatory constraints might delay its impact on Trump's financial position, as major shareholders are restricted from selling their stock for at least 6 months. Tom, how big of a deal is this?
This is a huge deal. This is basically liquidity, and this is a liquidity net worth. And what I mean by that is you've got the SPAC, which is going out. And by the way, there's nothing special here. There's nothing unusual. So I can't wait for the pundits to come out and claim one way or another of what's going on. But I'll tell you, right now, Donald Trump's company, Truth Social, is going out on the stock market. It's trading today under the ticker, oh, what a surprise, DJT.
Great name, by the way.
Is that really the ticker?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe.
Seriously.
Rob,
Yes.
can you
Yes,
check
it
that?
is.
I believe the ticker is DJT.
It is.
I'm 99% sure. And
100%, Vinny.
Yeah, it is. Look at that. DJ.
100%,
And let's go out
Vinny.
here. Are we trading today? It's 9:32, so it should be, market should be open, but the SPAC may open a little bit late.
Well, market cap today is $1.86 billion.
Okay, and the majority shareholder, yes. So basically, there's a lockup agreement. What a lockup agreement. When something goes new on the stock market, sometimes they ask the major insiders have to wait a while for the stock to settle. Sometimes it's 90 days, sometimes it's 6 months. There's a 6-month lockup agreement. Well, guess what? You can make loans. You can get loans against your stock. So Donald Trump, if he has, say, $700 million of value in this, his broker will lend him up to $350 million. So basically, he has all the cash he needs. And by the way, in court, his lawyer said that of the $175 million, Your Honor, we have cash on hand or are prepared to wire. That has to come with an affidavit showing that it's there. And that was 2-3 days ago. So basically, let the libs lose their mind. He's got more than enough liquidity he needs, not only for these bonds and the civil things he's facing, but something called his election fund.
Tom, let me tell you something about what I learned about a lockup period, and it's not going to jail. Remember in 2021, we're in Boca. Crypto was bananas. And I invested in our buddy Adrian's crypto fund. Good amount of money, a nice chunk of change, 6 figures, to my best friend. And he started this fund, right? And crypto blew up. What ended up happening was our account, according to the current estimate, was worth, I don't know if you remember this.
I do remember.
$7 million. Yeah. I go, what?
Sell.
I go, sell this shit
now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Like now. He goes, yeah, there's a 6-month lockup period.
Shit.
I'm like, buddy, 6 months and 1 minute, sell this shit.
Yeah.
6 months later, it was worth basically the same amount that I gave him as the investment. So that's when I had to live in a studio apartment with Vinny.
With me. Yeah, you've been in the basement.
But this lockup period,
so in other words, what you're saying is,
yes,
who knows what this is going to be worth? There's
Correct.
a big difference. The difference is, over the next 6 months. Let's see exactly what 6 months is, okay? Let's take 6 months from March 25th. What is 6 months from March 25th? September 25th. What's September 25th? The peak of election and interest in wanting to know what the hell is going on, and this man is still not tweeting, which means everybody's going to go to Truth Social, and Truth is going to be quoted by everybody when they say, President Trump just commented this on Truth Social. Truth Social. President Trump on Truth Social. Truth Social. Truth Social. Truth Social. They're going to hear it so many times, so the valuation of it's going to go higher because traffic going to it and the level of interest is going to be higher. Where truth is going to decrease is after the election. But between now and 6 months, it is not going to be going anywhere. They just have to find a way to get the right kind of traffic and sponsorship and money coming in, and we'll see how the market's going to react to the valuation of it, Tom.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, between now and the 6 months, and by the way, what Adam was describing, Adam, you would have been categorized as an insider. So if you had sold at that time, the reason that the lockup laws exist is so that an insider like you doesn't sell in, pops up, and then you sell out and leave the retail investors, everybody else that came along, hey, maybe I'll take a chance on this. Maybe Vinny and I will put $5,000 each in this. And then all of a sudden we see the insiders are gone and the stock drops. That's what the lockup period does. It protects the retail investors, we hope, from insiders just throwing all their stuff out there, which will also drop the price. Now, for Donald Trump, right now, this is normal. He's going to get a credit line from a large bank, and the banks will be happy to give it to him at the interest rates he'll give it to him, just like he gets loans for other things. They probably won't want their name in the press, but he's going to have everything he needs to go forward. And this is, once again, he has what he needs to do what he wants to do, very much like that clip, never quit. Sometimes you go around the wall, sometimes you go under it, sometimes you under it, and sometimes you open a new company.
And sometimes you build it, Tom. Sometimes you build it.
Sometimes you build it.
They can't stop him. They could just slow him down, bro. I'm so happy that. And randomly, look how God works. All of a sudden, $6 billion. Good. Good.
And then, you know, I got to give Biden credit.
Don't ever say that again on this freaking podcast.
All right, relax, extremist. He actually came up with a great nickname for Trump. Trump, you know, Little Marco, you know, Sleepy Jet, all that.
Yeah.
Biden called him Broke Don. Pretty cool. All right, that's a good nickname to go with if you're actually owing $500 million. But when your net worth doubles after Truth Social goes public, now you're rich.
Let me tell you.
I can't wait.
Let me tell you, the more I was thinking about the strategy here on what it would be, it's purely to put him in a corner. Like, go to the dark strategy. Okay, darkest. Think about your opponent is the darkest, most envious human beings of all time, because that's what it is in politics. You're dealing with the darkest. Why is that? Because, see, in the world of business, there is numbers and there's leaders bulletin, meaning how many customers did you sell Starbucks? This many. How much profit did you bring? This much. How many employees do you have? This much. What was your top line revenue? This much. Okay, based on that, you're worth $4 billion. Good for you. How many employees does Starbucks have? Can you pull up, or Rob? I think they have 240,000 employees worldwide. Wow. It's either 240 or 420. It's one of those two. Show Starbucks total employees, right? What is the number? 240. Okay. Nice. It's now, 390 to 200, which 200 company ever compared to 248. Okay, so they've gone up. So they're at 391,000 employees worldwide. Who gets credit for that? Founder, Howard Schultz. Yeah. It's hard to do. Guess what? It's real data. The reason why he has 391,000 employees is because he has more money coming in that he can employ those types of people. All right. In the world of business, founders start a business super hard. Guy today on Manekta is asking me a question. He's talking about, well, my dad doesn't listen to me, and I'm really trying to get my dad to listen, and I know he started the business. So let me put it to you this way. There's a difference between being a founder and there's a difference between being a CEO. A founder goes through different kind of pains that a CEO goes through. Your father sacrificed everything to make this business work, right? Okay. Now going to politics. Politicians are filled with envious people. Why is that? Because in politics, if they made it in business, they would have been easily validated as somebody that's super successful, right? It's validated. Capitalism validates you. Very simple. And it comes with hate. Well, the way he made his money wasn't fair. It was his dad's money. He made the money through. And then they're going to say everything and anything, the fact that you made your money. It's always going to be the case, right? However, why would they want to do this? Go to the darkest opponents you'll ever face. Maybe because they want to deplete his savings So then he has to ask money from some friends in New York that are billionaires, and then they can come back and say he has joined the swamp. He is now owing all these people favors. Trump is now owned. He's officially a swamp guy. He officially has to do everything they tell him to do. So that whole brand that I'm doing everything with my own money for the campaign, that brand goes away. Once that goes away, now it's equal opportunity. You're one of us. Guess what, guy? Welcome to the swamp. You are now part of the swamp. And there is no way they're happy about what happened with Truth Social. Now they're probably sitting around on different conference calls and Zooms trying to figure out a way to destroy Truth Social. Wait till you see a whole different angle now that's going to be coming up with what they do with Truth Social. Stay tuned. Over the next 3 to 6 months, there may be a whole different kind of a witch hunt, cyber attack, something happening with Truth Social, because that's going to be their next strategy to do that. Again, allegedly, this could possibly happen. Let's go to the next story. Ronna McDaniel joins NBC after pressure campaign from Trump to resign from the RNC. Rob, do you have the video of her saying that I was asked to leave the RNC? See if you have the video. If you don't have it, it's not hard to find. It's on Twitter. So former RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel joins NBC News as an on-air contributor with her debut schedule for Meet the Press this Sunday, making her first interview since stepping down from the RNC, as reported by The Hollywood Reporter, okay? Anyway, she's there to give insider perspective. And while this is going on, they were not too happy about it, okay? MSNBC doesn't plan to put ex-RNC chair Ronna McDaniel on the network. So now they're going back and forth because that's a story the day later. And then, by the way, I think that's the one right there that you had. I think that's the one right there. Can you zoom in to see what the day is? Zoom in and see. That's exactly the one. For example, why not speak out earlier? So yeah, that's the one. Can you play that clip real quick? So that's her on Meet the Press, I think a couple days ago.
Well, let's talk about the election now. Donald Trump says one of his first acts, if he is reelected to a second term, would be, quote, to free those charged and convicted of crimes related to January 6th. Do you support that?
I want to be very clear. The violence that happened on January 6th is unacceptable.
Here we go.
It doesn't represent our country. It certainly does not represent my party. We should not be attacking the Capitol. We should not be having violence. I said it that day. I put a statement out that day that this is not acceptable. If you attacked our Capitol and you have been you've been convicted, then that should stay.
So then, but to the question, though, do you disagree with Trump saying he's going to free those who've been charged?
I do not think people who committed violent acts on January 6th should be freed.
So you disagree with that? He's been saying that for months. Ronna, why not speak out earlier? Why just speak out about that now?
When you're the RNC chair, you kind of take one for the whole team, right? Now I get to be a little bit more myself, right? This is what I believe. I don't think violence should be in our political discourse, Republican or Democrat. And I disagree with that. I agree with him on a whole host of other things. Let's close the border. Let's make sure we have good incomes for people. Let's make sure we do a lot of great things. But on that point, I don't think we should be freeing people who violently attacked Capitol Hill police officers and attack the Capitol.
And by the way, do you have the clip, Rob, of her saying, you know, that Biden won it fair and square, you know, because there's another clip with her. This interview continues with her saying a bunch of different things.
And then Chuck Todd loses his mind.
Yeah.
Like,
and then we'll go to that one.
His brain almost comes out.
Watch this one here, folks. Watch this one here.
Stop you because you just said Joe Biden's a legitimately elected president. This is the first time you have said this.
It's not. I have said it many times.
Well, this is what you said a year ago to Chris Wallace. I want to play you what you said.
Are you saying, as the chair of the Republican Party, that you still have questions as to whether or not Joe Biden was the duly elected president?
Joe Biden's the president.
No, I didn't ask you whether he's the president.
No, I don't think that. I think
Do
there
you
were
think
lots of problems.
he won the election?
I think there were lots of problems with 2020.
Do you think he
won the election?
Pardon?
But ultimately, he won the election. But there were lots of problems with the 2020 election. 100%.
And that's fair.
But I don't think he won it fair. I don't. I'm not going to say that.
So you didn't say.
Yeah. Weird. He didn't win.
Wait, guys, I can't hear this. Go back. I want to see what you're saying. Go back. There you go.
Won it fair at that point. Can you say, as you sit here today, did Joe Biden win the election fair and square?
He won. He's the legitimate
Did he win
president.
Fair and square?
Fair and square. He won. It's certified. It's done.
So you know, when you do that, here's what happens when you do something like that. You know how much it costs for her to say that? You know what her salary is? with NBC? Can you pull up what her salary is?
Well, she actually signed
what they're offering her. I mean, obviously, the number is give or take. For $300,000, Ronna McDaniel will flip for you and change your opinion.
That's all she's being paid?
That's all she's being paid for $300,000. You know what she needs to watch? She needs to watch the movie Scent of a Woman. And she needs to go watch the speech all the way at the end, okay? And hear what Colonel, what's his name? Colonel
Frank Luntz.
What he says at the end, and see what the other kids or the son of the other guy, what he was, you could buy him off and all this stuff. And the school you can buy him out, but you couldn't buy out.
Yeah.
But not a Baird man, right?
When he goes, but Charlie wasn't selling.
But Charlie wasn't selling.
He goes, he was offered
what?
him.
And George sitting in Big Daddy's pocket.
That's right. But guess who was selling? Ronna McDaniel was for sale, $300,000, and you're saying it with a straight look on your face that there wasn't. So let me ask you this question: that whole story of New York Post that was going viral with Hunter Biden, that Twitter files came out and revealed based on what Taibbi and Barry Weiss wrote with Elon Musk and releasing all of that stuff and saying that, they were in communication with the FBI and everybody, don't release that. You don't think that would have flipped the vote? You know how many people said they would have voted in a different way? You don't think? Now, she may, if you want to categorize and isolate each issue and say, look, was there voter mail-in drop, all that stuff? Okay, maybe isolate that. Okay, you can say yes or no. Maybe you can sit them, but to say there was none with Twitter after the files came out and after 50 intelligence agents coming out and saying there is 100% nothing going on with that laptop, and they fooled America into voting for that guy, you can sit there with a straight look on your face and say no? You lost credibility. And by the way, just so you know, Ronna McDaniel, just so you know this, so not only did you lose, you had some, but now you lost credibility with the party that you were the chairwoman for. But guess what they're thinking about you at NBC? That you'll flip again if Fox gives you $500,000, you go throw NBC under the bus. Your first sale is what it is. Can you play how Chuck Todd reacts to this, Rob? If you don't mind, go play the Chuck Todd clip and see what his reaction was for this. Play this clip here. Watch this, folks.
Dive right in. What were your takeaways?
Look, let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology.
Wow.
For putting you in this situation. Because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah.
Is she speaking for herself, or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? Once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So what about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination. So it is... You
can pause it.
That's
bro. You just cross the line with character assassination, bro. You guys are like...
He's talking shit. Yeah, by the way, what a shill.
But by the way, he makes a good point.
No, he does make a good point, like not to trust her. Oh, 100%, because, well, first of all, but Ronna McDaniel, this just goes to show you, like, what Trump has had to and go to deal with. This is the head of the RNC. This is her character. By the way, this didn't happen overnight. That's the type of person that she's always been, Patrick. Like, he has to deal with these people. That's why when people go, oh, well, Trump assigned Christopher Wray and FBI, I'm like, bro, he has no freaking choice. This is the setup.
By the way,
established.
You know what Vivek's marketing team needs to do? Vivek's marketing team needs to cut the clip from the part where he says, come on up here and apologize to the entire Republican Party, to Ronna McDaniel. I'll give you my time. And then they need to cut small clips of that, 15 seconds of what she just said, about insurrection, about what she just said, about the election, about what she just said, that there was, everything needs to be cut, and then goes back with that laughing the fact that he was right, because all of this validates that this guy, when he had this moment, can you play this clip, Rob? The brass he had when he did this. Go ahead and play this clip.
We were there for this one.
Yeah, of course.
President. I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats...
That's us clapping in the back.
You think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation?
Watch her smile.
Answer the question. Go.
They don't show her.
Yeah.
She's frozen.
So the reason why this is important is because more of these things that happen right now, you know how the college football season ends and a team loses the BCS Championship Bowl or whatever it is, or NBA Championship, somebody loses, or MLB. But the team that loses has number one highest odds of winning the following year, right? For many different reasons. Right now, Vivek has to be at the top of the list for 2028, okay? There are so many ways to sell Vivek's story for 2028. So many things he did that if there was not a Trump in 2024, he would have had all of those Trump MAGA voters been on his side, okay, if there was no Trump. Now, obviously, there's a person that's in his way, which is who? The man that, created this America First concept and MAGA and all this stuff that's inspired Vivek to become, without a Trump, maybe there's not a Vivek being inspired, but all I'm saying is 2028, he's the number one draft pick right now for presidential candidate for 2028. And he's validating, every time Ronna McDaniel does what she does with NBC, this just validates all those points that he made. Tom.
So there's two things going on here. The first thing is, let's step away from the fog for a minute and look at it. Vivek was right. Ronna McDaniel did a bad job leading the party. You're supposed to lead on strategy, pulling people together. You're supposed to lead on fundraising, pulling people together, and you're supposed to win when there's an opportunity to win. She was not up against Obama. She was not up against Bill Clinton. She lost. And so she did a bad job at her job. And guess what? Accountability. She should be fired, resign, leave, CEO gets packaged, whatever it is, she should leave. Part one. Part two, in politics, you always walk down the street to New York and you do one of two things. You go to a publisher and you get a book deal, or you go and you become a pundit. Look at Psaki. She got her show. All these people, there's a path. You don't have to go hacking through the jungle. There's a well-worn path to go to New York and get your book deal or get on media. And now she goes on media and NBC. Now, let's think about it. Why did the bosses at NBC put her on the media? Because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to see if they can bring voters. So they're like, hey, she's conservative, way over here on the left. Backstory. Ad rates down, viewership down, NBC News, MSNBC News, ratings suck, S-U-C-K suck. So the bosses are trying to do something, next innovative campaign, to see if maybe they could bring somebody on that'll bring some lightning, bring some viewership. Instead, they had what's called organ rejection. Pat can tell you, if you hire the wrong person into the wrong culture, into your organization, it's catastrophic. And your organization, despite what you say, I'm hiring this new VP of sales, and he's coming in here, she's coming in here, we're going to take him. If the organization is the wrong culture, it's like organ rejection. They are going to reject, and that person will soon be gone. And that's what's happened here, because NBC is the journalist, and I can't believe Chuck Todd uses that word. He should go look it up through the dictionary used by Walter Cronkite. He's wrong. You are shills. You are talking heads. You are telegenic people with a producer in your ear, Chuck. Let's talk about what it really is. And they're out there. It's organ rejection. They're like, hey, oh my gosh, one of the enemy is here. Now they're bringing up good points. She is for sale, flipping back and forth. But the NBC bosses went to do what they always do. Bring somebody in who's available. Can you bring viewers? Can you do something from the other side? But she did a bad job. She was fired. And
she's for sale. I mean, that's what this.
But they've been losing. Vivek nailed it. They've been losing since when did she become chair of the RNC? How long has she been in there?
2018.
So think about it. Losing, 2020, losing, 20. Like, bro, it's almost as if they put her ass in there on purpose because this is her character. Then she flips now.
No.
What do you mean, no?
They didn't put her there on purpose. Here's what's going on.
You think there's loyalty in any, like, you? So because, Adam, you believe in this party. I don't believe in it. I believe in the uniparty, and they're all on the same team. It's wrestling. I'm not one of those red wave, blue wave. They are all on the same team. They all make us the illusion of, oh, my God, they're fighting for us. It's all bullshit. She's exactly what the swamp is. It's Ronna McDaniel, 1,000%.
Here's what's going on, Vinny.
Here, which they?
The Democrat, the other side. What I'm saying is,
I think the Democrats put
and again,
Ronna McDaniel as the chair of the RNC.
No, I'm just saying.
It's literally the exact opposite of that.
Hold on a second, Adam. Since she's been in, what has happened to the Republican National Committee?
Well, I'll tell you what
They're
happened.
losers. They lose. So
Vinny, can I tell you what's going on?
Adam's got. Go ahead, Adam.
Here's what's going on with Ronna McDaniel. The reality today is she is politically homeless. What do I mean? So I actually watched Meet the Press every Sunday. I've watched it forever with Chuck Todd. And now Kristen Welker is actually doing a pretty good job. She has left, right. She's pretty...
More left than right.
No, she has tons of people on. Have you ever watched the show?
Definitely not, Adam.
No.
Because she pushed all that bullshit agenda during COVID and everything. She's not credible at all.
I'm talking about since she started the show, Meet the Press, a few months ago, she's done a good job.
Okay.
Here's the reality of what's going on here when I say she's politically homeless. Kristen Welker pushed her. She said, she played the Trump quote, played the Vivek quote about losing. Her response was, because you can't defend losing 2018, 2020, 2022, and potentially 2024. You can't defend that. So what did she do? She gave the DEI inclusion narrative. Well, since I've been chairwoman of the RNC, despite losing all those elections, we've elected more women, more people of color, and she kind of went down that route. Well, reality is they're not winning. But why do I say she's politically homeless? It's because the GOP as we know it, the RNC as we know it, no longer exists. It is the MAGA party, and we know this. Who's the new chairwoman of the RNC? Laura Trump. A little nepotism. So
thank God.
Okay, but that's my point.
Good for him.
Okay, so the reality is, whether Trump wins, whether Trump loses, we shall see. Nobody has any clue what the future of the RNC or the GOP will be after Trump. Vivek, maybe, we shall see. But we all know Ronna McDaniel's maiden name, and it is Romney.
Yeah.
She's as establishment as it gets.
Yeah.
The reality is in the RNC, whether you're Romney, whether you're Cheney, whether you're Pence, you don't exist anymore in the party. We played the clip of Vivek at the debate in Miami. Well, Tom and I were there at the debate in California with PBD as well. It was completely the opposite. Shit show. Yeah. Tom, absolute shit show.
California?
Arguing crazy.
California was low energy, poorly assembled, bad.
So it was such a shit show. We could literally walk on stage and say hi to the candidates. We did.
You slapped Pence in his ass.
I went up to Mike Pence and I was like, hey, great job, VP Pence. I think you're going to win this thing. You got this.
After we stepped on the edge of the stage.
I did a video. He's like, thank you, thank you. He's like, Ronna McDaniel, how are you? I turn around and put the camera around.
What's your point?
I'm like, this guy's got no chance. The point that I'm getting at is the establishment is gone from the Republican Party. So she has no future. If she tries to go right to the MAGA route, they don't want her. If she tries to go left to the Democrat liberal route, they don't want her. We talked about Chuck Todd, who, by the way, used to host Meet the Press for a decade. Joe Scarborough, who has the biggest show on MSNBC, Mika Brzezinski, he's like, I would never have her on my show, condemning the hell out of this.
Who was her father, Adam? Who'd you say, McDonald?
She's a Romney.
Mitt Romney. And
not her father. Family member.
Where does that guy stand? That's her family, though, right? Where does he stand? He's anti-Trump. He's 100% establishment. So what I'm saying is she's the perfect person to put into the RNC to make the RNC lose every single time.
By the way, You know who falls in that category? Kinzinger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got Walsh. What's his name? Joe Walsh. We had him on, and it was actually, super entertaining.
You're a Democrat.
He's part of a.
I'll get out of here right now.
There's quite a few people that are part of that group that can't handle working with a guy like Trump. They just can't handle working. So immediately they go to the other side as if finding a way to get under, the anti-establishment community skin. But what you do is you're permanently, your credit score, imagine your credit score goes from 820 overnight to 450 with that community. It's done.
You're finished.
It's done. Yeah. And it's not 450 for a year and you recover and fix your credit in 3 years. Your credit score stays 450 for the rest of your life in politics. That's exactly what happened.
But here's...
It's not... And by the way, you're making a very good point that she doesn't have a party today and all this other stuff. But if anybody was on the inside that could give her feedback on strategy, this was probably the worst move she could make.
But there's one thing that could be a slippery slope downside. Because if you're part of the Republican Party, now known as the MAGA Party, unfortunately, if you don't fully embrace that the election was stolen and you don't fully embrace that January 6th was just a peaceful protest, you're no longer part of the party. So there needs to be a home and a big tent within the Republican Party that says, yes, we might differ on some of these things. She had to basically bend the knee and say that Joe Biden is the president. By the way, breaking news, guys, he is. But I think it's a little scary and dicey that the Republican Party will now castrate or kick out anybody that doesn't fully embrace election denialism.
That's hard to do, and I will tell you why it's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
This has got nothing to do with MAGA, anti-MAGA, anything like that. This has got to do with, do you know how to read the Twitter files showing that a story, the U.S. government contacted Twitter to say, take the story from New York Post down, the oldest paper in America, take it down, it's not true. And 50 intelligence agents signed to say this is all a fraud. 3 years later, we find out it is, and Hunter Biden says, I want to do this public because I want the world to see that you guys are full of shit. And then he has the court last week. Guess what seat is the only one missing with his name tag sitting there? His. You have a very hard time convincing that community to say, no, that didn't affect the flipping election after 67%, whatever the number was that came out saying, I would have voted differently if I knew that story was right and the intelligence officers wouldn't have come out and said there was nothing there. Yeah, it's kind of hard for people that are able to reason and think for themselves and research for themselves.
You're fully right. I'm giving you zero pushback. By the way, when did Elon Musk and the Twitter files come out? Give me the date on that.
3 years.
October 22.
Okay. So the point that I'm getting at is you're absolutely right. Zero pushback. Twitter files. There's something shady going on with the New York Post. Yeah. However, that has nothing to do with the actual
there's
ballots.
Nothing shady with the Post.
Thomas.
The Post published an article and they were told to spike it.
Can I finish my point before the old man yells at the sky?
Really? Finish your point. Here we go again. It's been 20 minutes to get to a point. I'm waiting with thirsty ears, dude.
Can we put Tom to bed soon, guys? This has nothing to do with what actually happened in the election in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan. If any of those court cases held any water and won any of those cases, this would be an entirely different conversation. Fully agree with the Twitter thing, but you lost every single court case.
But you can't say that because because what he said is actual.
He didn't lose every court case.
You're not Adam, let me finish.
He said. I'm imitating Tom right now.
Adam, that's fine.
I'm imitating Tom.
But listen, what he's saying that is cheating. Hold on. What he's saying with the agencies, with 81 FBI agents working, having an office at Twitter, is cheating. Stopping stories is cheating. And
I said that I agreed with that.
Hold on.
So tell me about the court cases.
Ready for this for court?
Tell me about the court cases.
If anything,
they didn't win one.
If you think I'm gonna hold on, if you think I'm gonna trust the courts, look what the hell's happening in New York with that piece of shit and Letitia James. I don't trust any court If they could do that shit to him right now, when people go, well, in the courts they won. They bought and sold the courts a long time ago. I don't trust anything about the judicial system.
What do you mean the courts? Every court in America? You don't trust anything?
Hold on.
Zero?
I don't trust
even in Georgia,
guess what?
with a Republican governor?
I don't trust the judicial system.
By the way, if we take, again, Adam, if we take it based on what you're saying,
yes,
which is the argument to be made, okay, yeah. So they need to prove that point. But the argument, it stops at Twitter. With Twitter files. That's where the argument, we don't even need to go to the next step, because that one story, when Chris, what's his name? Comey, is that his name? Chris, what was the director?
Comey.
Jim Comey?
Jim Comey. Jim Comey got fired. James Comey.
James Comey.
Yeah.
When James Comey came out and he said what he said about Hillary Clinton's emails.
Wow, shocking.
A couple weeks before that.
Yes. Lost her the election.
Okay, so
yes.
You want to...
Sorry, sir.
Yeah. Lost her the election, right?
Yes.
Okay. When did New York Post share the story about Hunter Biden laptop?
Pretty much around the same time as when
You're right.
it happened with Comey.
But the difference was
yes,
they asked Twitter to take it down. Did what Comey did with Hillary Clinton's email affect the election?
You could argue yes, for sure.
I would argue for sure yes. If Comey doesn't do that, does Hillary Clinton win?
I would say the percentages would increase significantly.
We're on the same page.
Cool.
If the New York, forget about all the other counties that you're talking about. Yeah. If New York Post story isn't taken down, and if those lying intelligence officers that came out saying there's nothing in that laptop, would that have changed the election for 2020?
It would have increased Trump's odds for sure.
Same as Hillary Clinton, same as Trump's, right?
So even Steven is what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is what Comey did impacted the... I was shocked that he did it, to be honest with you. I was shocked that because he could have done that November 6th, right? He could have done that November 10th. But he did that. And by the way, till today, I guarantee you deep down inside, Hillary Clinton is furious with the fact that he did what he did.
Oh, he should watch his back.
Oh, he's on the hit list for sure.
But all I'm saying is the same exact way that what Comey did in mid-October hurt Hillary Clinton's chances is the same exact way that the government getting a hold of that article by New York Post affected the election. To me, I don't need to go through the next steps. I'm just simply going to stay there and see the fact that there was influence there. By the way, that's the one. That's the Comey one, October 28th. Can you see when the story was for New York Post, Hunter Biden, 2020 election? What day was that? Except that's October 28th. I'm actually curious to know what exactly that day was.
Well, you know how you say, it's like a NBA playoffs, it's 3-2 and all that. So ultimately with interference, it's 1-1. Comey affected the outcome for Clinton?
No, wait. Now you got to be careful what you're doing here because one was doing his job. Yeah. Comey did his job.
Exposing the truth.
And actually said what happened. Love him or hate him, guess what? Even the folks who voted for Trump. If Comey doesn't do that, Hillary Clinton would have been your president. So as much as you guys give Comey hate, if he would have waited 10 days, Hillary Clinton would have been a two-term president. Just so you know that. Very high likely that happens.
Right.
So he did his job. But on the other side, that's called fraud.
Cheating.
That's called election interference for the U.S. government agencies to contact Twitter in an email saying, take this story down, and then 50 intelligence officers signing their name permanently. Those guys, as a last name, is in disgrace to have a lie like that you affected what happened, and you destroyed the country being divided the way they treated because you played games. Comey, love him or hate him, he did his job. The other ones, manipulative, deceptive, and they caused the election to flip. That's the argument. I'm not going to the court. The court stuff, great, it is what it is. I'm going straight there. For me, the buck stops right there. If we know that happened and you agree that that was gamesmanship and manipulation and you've read the Twitter files, the rest of it is irrelevant to me. That's where I stand with that. But anyways, go ahead. I'll give you the final thoughts before we move on from the story.
I'm with you guys on the Twitter stuff. Ugly, sloppy, disgusting. But here's what I can guarantee on November 5th. When's the last time we had a blowout election in the United States?
Reagan,
blowout.
49 out of 50.
Reagan Carter.
So as long as we've pretty much been alive, as long as we've pretty much been alive, Tom, you were already probably 25, 30 at that time. There's only been close elections. Only. I mean, I was an intern at Tallahassee Capitol in 2000 during the closest election of our lifetime. Whatever party doesn't win big, I guarantee you, this time around, Trump for sure. Like, what are the chances if Trump actually loses? He says, yeah, I lost fair and square. I'm out of here, guys. 0. So get ready for a rigged, stolen election.
Well, if the polls and everything is happening right now, it'd be how are people, the polls are in his favor. So if it happened right now and Biden has one of those overnight fucking jumps, then guess what? There's something fishy going on, Adam. This mail-in ballot, stay home bullshit, COVID, like it's in your face. Like they're not even hiding anymore. And going back to his point, there's a difference between getting caught and then actually cheating. Somebody's doing their job.
Again, let me ask you one question, Vinny.
Yeah.
Let's just say
49 states, Reagan.
In this hypothetical world, there's actually let's just dream for a second.
Okay.
There's actually no cheating.
No cheating.
There's no cheating.
Okay.
It's a secure election. All the votes are counted. There's no shady stuff overnight. Nothing shady, hypothetically.
Okay, I'm in a dream right now. Go ahead. I'll close my eyes.
And Trump actually loses.
Yes.
Does MAGA, actually say that Joe Biden won the election?
If we're in a dream and make-believe land, of course, Adam, because we're dreaming. But I don't dream. I'm awake.
Okay.
And in reality, Adam, they have been cheating since he mentioned out of his mouth, I want to run for president. There's no more, there's no more Russia, it's out in front of your face. So, and now the people are you guys are finally waking up, not the cool people, the dumb sheep are finally waking up, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse, and he's getting more popular. So if it does come down to an Adam, and something crazy happens where they keep us from voting, you know what I mean? If you ever watch House of Cards, some crazy terrorist attack happened to keep everybody, then guess what it is? But if we were dreaming, Adam, I mean, you were on a cloud, and I'd be like, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so let's just go for reality in a second.
Well, now we're coming back to real life.
Yeah. Would you accept a fair and free election if Joe Biden wins?
Let me.
Period.
Right now? What do you mean?
If he wins.
Let me stop. We have plenty of stories to get into, and we're not doing this. Let me simplify the question for you. Do you believe an ID should be required to vote?
I'm on the side of yes.
Then we will never know if the election is going to be real or not. Because if out of 16 out of 50 states in America, no voter ID is required. That's 212
How's that legal?
Electoral votes.
How's that legal?
Okay, let me just say this here, because what you're asking is impossible.
Jeez.
16 states in America require 0 ID to vote, and that's 212 electoral votes.
Great point.
Then non-photo ID required, meaning you can bring an ID without your picture on it. That is 11 out of 50 states. That's 69 electoral votes. It's over with that. That's 281 out of 538. So your scenario does not exist because you and I agree that there needs to be an ID to vote. There is a monopoly if you can't even ask a logical question. On these states, 16 out of 50 states that you go to, that you don't need an ID to vote. Do you think you need an ID to go through the TSA pre? Do you think you need an ID to go through TSA? Do you think you need an ID to get on a flight? Do you think you need an ID to get into a club? Do you think you need an ID to order liquor? Do you think you need an ID when you get pulled over? Do you think you need an ID? Yes, but to vote, which is a million times bigger decision, no, we trust you, bro, go ahead. No, I think to me, first we have to fix that. If right now we fixed 50 out of 50 states moving forward, we're using blockchain technology with video, you go like this and all the stuff that we already have, and you show your voter ID, matches your voice, matches everything. It goes through it, matches your eyes. Then I would say, you lost and you won. We move forward. But the current system, I think what you're presenting in a perfect world, I would be willing to invest my life savings in Las Vegas to say there is 0 chance there's a victory. 0. Because there's no way in the world you would actually want an idea to be no voter ID required. You would agree to have a policy like that in a state, and you have a lot of common sense in this area. You can actually sit there and have common sense and say, yeah, it doesn't make sense that 27 out of 50 states in America don't require a photo ID to vote. That makes no logical sense to you. Yes or no?
Again, I'm on the side of show your ID. Show your ID when you go to a bar. Show your ID when you go to cigarettes. Show your ID to vote. I will give you a little caveat. The states that don't require an ID, do you think they're red or blue?
Red?
Wrong, Vinny. They're blue. So the blue states that are already blue, that are already voting blue, they don't require an ID. So they're not flipping states. Now, if Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia didn't require an ID, I'd be like, hell yeah, we got a problem here.
What do you
so
think
there is some issues.
What do you think those guys do? What do you think? That's a locked up, like for you have a lockup in these communities that you're not needing an ID to be done. Of course you have an advantage over your competitors. You're starting day one with an advantage. There is no debate there, bro. The debate stops right there. Like if you want to know what logical people who work their asses off would like to see, is to see that their votes are being counted accordingly based on proper verification with voter ID. Keep the same set of standards for everything, and we're not doing that. So that is where a lot of Americans sit there and question the system. Because if you really want, I vote every year. I believe you're supposed to vote. We had certain people that say, I just don't vote, and I don't. I'm going to sit this one out. I think that's also irresponsible to do so because you're setting the bad example to other kids and other people. But there's a reason there's a certain community that doesn't believe that their vote matters. It's because of this. When 27 out of 50 states don't require you to have a photo ID, and in those same exact states, I need an ID to drink, to do all the other stuff, there is gamesmanship going on.
Last question, because I know we want to move on. So if it was that the case, all the states require photo ID, Trump wins. Do you think Trump wins by a landslide, like the Reagan thing?
I would trust it. That's what I'm saying. I would trust it if we had that. So that is the problem, that I want to have a system that I trust. I remember at one point in the insurance company I was running, Tom will remember this. Tom, you've seen me frustrated behind closed doors with many different things with business, right? There is camera, there's frustration. Most of the time, our job is not to reveal whatever the frustration is. My dad once told me when him and my mom would fight, he would say, never fight in front of the kids because, you and I need to fight privately. Some people want to fight publicly about real issues. You can fight about silly, like stuff that we're doing right now. Nothing wrong with this. We're having conversations and debate, which is what America needs. But you have certain issues behind closed doors, stays between the two of you guys, right? What's the one thing, if you've ever seen me be furious about, and Jennifer would agree with this, Maral would agree with this, Tikram would agree with this, Mario would agree with this, Alexis would agree with this. What do you think the one thing is?
Dishonesty and basically fraud or manipulation.
Okay, so that's what people do. But I'm talking about internally where we could have controlled something that was frustrating.
Self-inflicted wounds.
Meaning with data. Do you remember Leaders Bulletin back 8 years ago, whatever the time? You should remember this vividly, right? Because
self-inflicted wound, like you fail to audit your own report, you put out a report and it shoots yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
It's just
so meaning when I can't look at the Leaders Bulletin and it's not 99% accurate, what do you trust when you're voting? You don't, right? So we invested $10 million in a software, so this goes away. You're never going to get 100%, but you want 99.9% accuracy because you're dealing with technology, right? And the more and more and more you increase it from 95% to 98% to 99% to 99.9%, and then sometimes there's crashes, all this other stuff that happens. If we don't have a system and a software that you watch and you see who wins and who doesn't win, then a person doesn't trust that system. I think whoever wins office on the conservative side, if there is something that I would like to see happen policy-wise, is in my top 5, is create a method of voting that more people trust the voting system. We have plenty of technology and concepts in other countries being done that we can also apply here. But why are some people not interested in that? Maybe because it kind of hurts them a little bit. I would like to see that happen. And if that happens, guess what? Nobody else can cry when they lose. Nobody else can bitch if they lose. Not anybody from the left, not anybody on the right, because we trust the system. Let's go to the next story. DeSantis did something very interesting, and I want to get your take on this, Tom, specifically you as well, and see what your thoughts on this. So Florida passes law banning social media for minors under the age of 14, okay? The story comes out, I believe, Rob, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, right? And here's what the story tells. Ron DeSantis signed legislation Monday that prohibits people under the age of 14 from having social media accounts regardless of parental consent, one of the most restrictive laws aimed at curbing social media access for minors. Under the new law, social media companies are required to close accounts believed to be used by minors under the age of 14. The platforms must also cancel accounts at the request of parents or minors, and all information from the accounts must be deleted. The law is set to take effect on January 1st, 2025. Minors who are 14 or 15 years old can obtain a social media account with parental consent. According to the new law, accounts already belonging to teens of that age must be deleted if a parent or guardian hasn't consented. Tom, thoughts on this?
This is a very good law. We have the data, but you know what? The tech sector doesn't want to look at it. We have data on young girls and depression that is directly related to social media. We have data on sexting and bullying of underage kids. We have data of trafficking and predators that are coming out to prey on these impressionable kids that are looking for validation, looking for someone to like them. And so now what we're saying is, hey, we're not just going to, what if you're a single mom? What if you're really busy? What if you just didn't know? Nope. We're giving you some support. And the support we're giving you is the law, and the requirements are in there, is that they can't have an account and they can't be doing this. And kids are going to say, but I want it, but I want it, but I want it. Well, look, when I was 17, in Florida at the time, I wanted to be able to drink, but I couldn't. It wasn't legal. I couldn't go to any places. And they changed the age to 19, finally to 21. So sometimes what the law is there because what you want, it's good for you not to get it.
So and is there anything about it, Tom, that you're uncomfortable with? Think the other way around. Like, is there anything for you where you say, I think it's a slippery slope? Or are you like, nope, I'm 100% with it and I support it?
I'm with it and I support it because of the data that we have on depression, bullying, trafficking, and predators. We have data.
Okay, got it. So,
but did you miss, what was the stat for the whole LGBTQ trans chopping of your genitalia off? How much is that going up?
There's a lot of influential things in there, but I'm just talking about, we have data on depression, bullying, sex trafficking, and predators.
Yeah, no, and I'm all for it, because at 14, what do you, like, you have those parents that just give their kids the tablet or the phone and they just walk away from them. I think it's really, really irresponsible. I think up to 14, it's a great law.
And we say you can't have a driver's license till you're 16 because of certain judgments and things that we want to.
Yeah, Rob, where are you with this, Rob? Where are you with this?
I have a 14-year-old. I wouldn't want him on social media at 14. So I'm definitely pro banning it for kids under the age of 14. I don't know how old your daughters are, Tom, but my 14-year-old has a cell phone, but he's only allowed to use it when it's the weekends or during the week when he has to contact his mother. Other than that, he's not allowed to have his cell phone because what happens is they get in that doom scrolling where all they do is scroll. Yeah. I don't want that to be his life. At this age, we have to be in front of devices. You run many companies, you have to be attached to your computer, your iPad, your phone. These kids don't need to be. So why are we putting it in their faces now?
Rob, all the apps.
Mine are 17, 12. I'm on the same page.
Yeah, Rob, but the apps that you allow on the phone, that's up to you. Your kid can't go on there and download an app by himself, can he?
On the 14-year-old,
he can. He has access.
I'd have to check. His mother set up the cell phone.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Prior to that, we had a thing called a Gizmodo. It was a watch where literally he could only make phone calls to like 4 people, and he could only receive incoming calls from people who knew that number. It was a perfect setup because if we ever needed to get a hold of him, we could call him. But
Did
he was
you have
not
any issues
texting.
with that or no? Did you like that?
No, I loved it. It was fantastic. But it got to the age where all the other kids in school had a smartphone. Dad, can I have a smartphone? Okay, we can have one, but we're going to set up limitations.
That's a good point.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to Robert. By the way, last week was spring break, and I hope you don't mind I tell the story, but his son called him, and he's like, hey, I want to stay and play video games. Can I get access? Rob goes, go outside, kid. Go play.
I think I was there when you did that.
Yeah, I don't allow, because again, when you get to our age, you have to be inside. You have to work 9 hours a day.
Rob.
Being outside, that was the best part of being a kid, was meeting other kids in the neighborhood, riding bikes. That's how you form friendships, bonds forever. It's not on the internet.
By the way, shout out to Rob and Vinny. You guys do a phenomenal job on Unusual Suspects. For some of you guys that tune into these guys, you guys had 2,700 people live watching last week. Yeah, I'm excited about what you guys are. And Rob speaks there a lot with Vinny. But
love you, Rob.
Adam, what are your thoughts on this? What do you want to say about this?
Well, look, I don't have kids like this, but I'm very close with my nephew. It's like my best friend, 11 years old. I do not want that kid anywhere near social media. All my best friends, all my closest cousins, they all have kids that are in elementaries, middle school. And all I do is I see these kids on their tablets, like, put the phone down. When we were growing up, dude, basketball, football, baseball, hide and seek, just go outside and play. You talked about the potential porn, sex trafficking, weird
horrible
stuff. Horrible. Obviously, that will eliminate that. Hopefully, those creepers will find a way. There's another side to this. We didn't grow up with social media. We didn't have anxiety and depression and all sort of the issues that young people are dealing with today. We would go outside. We would deal with the real world.
You have to be social.
You have to be social, not on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
And that shapes you. This is the most influential, impressionable time of your life.
Yep.
When you're 6 to 16, let's say. Mm-hmm. And when this new thing that never existed when we were growing up is just pumping stories, algorithms, weird stuff into your life every single day. Dude, we have no clue.
Yeah.
So Rory, my nephew, has an Apple Watch. If he needs to call someone, Apple Watch. There it is right there. I'm sure there's people that are going to object to this. I'm sure social media companies are going to object to this. I'm sure there's going to be backlash. But I got to give credit to Ron DeSantis for a very good idea.
Yeah. So I think the only thing is for some people that use the technology that's being managed by the parents and they use it as an album to later on hand it over to them when they're of the age. If those things get taken down, it'll be interesting because that takes a long time to gather and put together. And again, I think it's extreme. But am I more this than against it? 100%. The fact it'll be very interesting for him to do this on who's going to get upset about a decision like this being made when it's made.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if you guys heard. PBD's pretty big on social media. You have kids. You have 4 kids. Brooklyn's running around the house being the boss. Mm-hmm. When are you going to allow your kids to start doing stuff on social media?
Like having a phone to do stuff on social?
All the above. All the above.
No, there is no conversation about it. Dylan right now is convinced he's not getting to a phone until he's 16 years old.
Okay.
You ask Dylan right now what age he thinks he's getting a phone, it's 16 years old. Now, are they probably going to end up something earlier? Yes. Social, zero interest for anything to do with social. When I tell you zero, I mean zero interest for anything with social. I'm not even having a conversation until the age is 14. Zero. I'm not having that conversation until then. And even then, I may skip it, go one more year and one more year and one. The hardest thing is for you, like the other day, I love what Dylan said to one of his friends. I'm around some of his friends, and his friend's like, hey, listen, this is how I did it. Your dad's eventually going to give in. And I'm listening. He's going to cave. And Dylan says, you don't know my dad. I love that. I love that. He said that to his friend.
I'm super interested in your take on this specifically as the CEO of Valutainment. Your kids actually have a social media profile.
100% managed by me.
That's what I'm saying.
It's my.
So break that down for me.
Yeah, I manage it myself.
Okay.
Because later on, if they're going to do something with sports, with movies, with docs, whatever it is, they're going to be able to go back. And it's such an easy system to give them an album instead of my phone's got 60,000 pictures, and you have to go through it. I like what Apple does when you just kind of click on a face and you're able to go see all the pictures by that person's face, and I like that.
Boom.
By the way, I don't even know why my phone has your face here. Check this out. Like I can go to your face. No, I literally have one that I go to. The other day I sent a video to Adam on Sunday morning. I was surprised he texted back. I thought he'd be asleep. But so I like that.
What time did I text you back,
actually
BBD?
Pretty early. So that means you didn't party Saturday night? What? Oh,
I had a triathlon on Sunday.
Okay.
I swear.
Whatever.
A triathlon, not like a drinking thing?
But like
3
girls? Or what's
3 girls and alcohol?
Like
or
3 different days?
I can't reveal my secrets.
Yeah.
I don't triathlon and tell. Just know that I was
drinking, screwing. Probably the modern triathlon.
Just like you back in the day, Tom.
Yeah.
Papi Tomas. Italiano.
Giggity.
Papi Tomas. Okay, all right, so let's go to the next story here. Next story, do we want to go to Diddy? I think let's go to Diddy since we're already in Florida and DeSantis is trying to get social media to be banned. So I don't know if Diddy would be supportive of this. I don't know if Diddy would be supportive of what DeSantis is doing with social media under the age of 14. I mean,
he would never have met Justin Bieber.
Let's read some of these stories. Guys, very, very weird things happen. Rob, can you play this clip? Out of nowhere, federal agents raid Diddy's L.A. and Miami homes, okay? The searches are part of an ongoing New York criminal investigation into the entertainment industry insider regarding allegations of sex trafficking. In an official statement, Homeland Security investigation said it executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. This follows from a series of lawsuits from women allegedly that Diddy abused them. Diddy wielded tremendous influence in the entertainment business during the 1990s and 2000s, and all the victims claim he abused his power towards sadistic ends, including violence, rape, and emotional manipulation. In February, a music producer alleged in a lawsuit that Combs coerced her into having sex with prostitutes. And by the way, if you got the video, just to show the video, and then I'll tell you what they found with his there's a bunch of things going on with this. Play this clip. Which house is this?
Perhaps being linked to a sex trafficking investigation.
Hills. Is that Florida?
We got some shots of a few people coming out of the home.
That's LA.
Those people
That's
have
LA.
been detained. Now
Look
we're
at
trying
that
to still
house,
connect
dude.
the dots.
Holmby Hills is the neighborhood where Michael
Jackson
Jackson
here
died.
that we're getting this information
Look at this
from.
Encino?
We were actually the first
Why would
ones
they go
here.
like this?
Look, I'll tell you why.
Different law enforcement vehicles at least. There are 3 Bearcats.
Two of his sons, two of his sons, two of his sons too.
Really?
Yeah, 2 of his sons got jacked
here
up.
before the crime
That's him. That's his son.
So we're just down
Why are
the
they
hill.
doing that
If
to
you
his son,
look
though?
up
I mean,
this street,
and
where
well, think about it.
Tony is right now
Helicopter.
to the right,
These guys, all the
those
reporters that
Bearcats
are there
and law
before this
enforcement.
happened. This is a whole. There's a lot of weird stuff happening.
So the reporters were there before.
She even
so they
said
knew.
it. She knew what was going on. They all know. They all know what's happening. But I'll let you finish.
All right, let me.
Because I have a couple of takes on.
Give me permission to read this
I'm
next
so
story, and then
sorry.
I'll come to you. Let me do this.
Yell
real
at-
quick.
yell at me, Pat.
No, you need
Please.
15,000 subs, bro. Vinny, stop interrupting.
Hey guys, he hurt
All right,
me.
next.
Unusual suspects.
Okay, video footage. Video footage.
I would never
shows.
interrupt PBD on the Soscast. Never.
right.
Which I'll be speaking about Diddy at 4 p.m.
okay.
But go
There we
ahead.
go. So video footage, Christian and Justin Combs in handcuffs, which is what you just saw right now. But Diddy's private jet tracked to the Caribbean island of Antigua. Rob, if you want to pull this one up, which Diddy's private jet, Gulfstream 5, owned by Love Air LLC, was tracked to Antigua amidst raids on his L.A. home. And according to TMZ, the jet, which he has used for years, landed on the island, although it's unclear if Diddy was on board. Despite the raids, Diddy was spotted at Miami, Opaloka Executive Airport town we've used, obviously, pacing around the customs office. Reports suggest he was waiting on companions being questioned by federal agents. One source mentions he was said to be never cuffed or taken into custody. The raids conducted by Homeland Security as part of a sex trafficking investigation. So, Vinny, what do you have going on here?
And again, this is all allegedly, just like when with the terrorist attacks in Russia, everybody's like, you gotta wait, you gotta let the smoke clear and see what's happening. But if you were gonna ask me, like, it seems as if, well, and by the way, you know that the jet went to the islands. It's weird. Sex trafficking allegations, blah, blah. You go next to the islands where Epstein's island was. It's kind of weird, which it's, the country has no extradition treaty with the U.S., so he can't get sent back here. But anyway, I think, this is me personally, people, when it's set up like this and they're grabbing people and the FBI and everybody's involved, I think people are looking for the tapes, okay? Think about all the footage that Diddy has on all these huge public figures who have been in his home during all these types of sexual acts, including minors, and people are panicking. Remember the Rodney Jones story that we talked about? PBD he brought him to court and was not disputed by anyone. Drugging minors, blackmail, sexual abuse, money laundering, sexual harassment. I'm telling you right now, with that type of like assault and and they hit every single house, they're looking for, he's going to be the fall guy. They're looking for all the shit that he has just in case it comes out. Okay?
So what you're saying is, you're saying that this is more
the powers that be.
This is more of he's like an Epstein guy that's held a lot of people accountable because he has videotapes on them with
100% blackmail. He's the guy, like he's the guy that had all the wildest parties. Think about this. He's the Epstein of
hip hop and all these fighters.
And I'm telling you, since I was young on the East Coast, he was that guy, and he's been that guy forever. There's a really weird relationship, and you guys could look it up. Clive Owen and him and all these people and all the deaths and all the Whitney Houston involvement when Whitney Houston came in and gave, I think it was Jennifer Hudson, a note, and she was trying to expose them, and then she drowned killed herself, whatever that you want to call it. But I think it's a blackmail operation. But the question is for who? Like, he didn't come up with this stuff by himself. He's a puppet, but who's the puppet master? And who knows? Because they're not saying he's on that jet. But what if they put all the shit, all the tapes, all the information on the jet, and they got rid of it?
Rob,
it's weird to hit every single spot at the same time.
Rob, can you do me a favor? And Tom, I'm going to come to you next on this. Rob, can you pull up for me 50 Cent's Instagram account, and then also if you can get that Cat Williams video. While you're doing that, I'm going to kind of show you guys a brief history of Diddy's history of controversies and allegations. This is according to Rolling Stones magazine, okay? So CCNY tragedy, 1991 celebrity basketball event organized by Combs at CCNY ends in tragedy with 9 dead. Overcrowding and inadequate security blamed. Combs settles lawsuit with victims' families. Jake Robles shootings in 1995. Altercation outside Atlanta nightclub leads to Robles' death implicating Combs and Suge Knight. Conflicting account emerged. Combs denies involvement in the shooting. Attacking Steve Stout, 1998. Combs assaults Steve Stout over disputed music video scene leading to criminal charges. Combs admits wrongdoing, sentenced to anger management class. Club New York shooting, 1999. Altercation in Club New York results in gunfire. Combs and Shine implicated. Combs acquitted. Shine convicted. Combs accused of bribing his driver. Scuffle with J. Cole, 2013. Allegations altercation at MTV VMA party involves Combs, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar. Conflicting reports about the abuse, about the cause. Both parties deny a physical fight. Next one. Allegedly punching Drake in 2014. Dispute with Drake outside Live nightclub leads to alleged physical altercation. Combs denies punching Drake, maintains friendship. Fights UCLA coach 2015. Confrontation with UCLA coach leads to altercation during practice. Combs claims self-defense. No assault charges filed. Gina Hooney alleges abuse 2019. Combs' ex alleges physical abuse and mental manipulation during their relationship. Accusations of comparing her to Cassie and condoning abuse by Combs' circle. Cassie files civil lawsuit against Combs in 2023, alleging rape, abuse, and intimidation by Combs. Combs denies allegations, settles lawsuit for undisclosed amount. By the way, I'm not going to read all these. I'll just tell you all of them. Jane Doe sues for 1991 rape and revenge porn. Diddy faces third sexual assault suit in 1 week. This is 1990, 1991. Third, Jane Doe files lawsuit. Tiffany Red writes an open letter corroborating Casey's allegations. Hulu scraps family's reality show, cancels reality show featuring Combs and family amid sexual assault allegation. Multiple companies sever ties with Combs. Project compared to Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Combs settles with Diago. Sean Combs sues for sexual assault by Love album producer. Authorities raid Sean Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami. None of these stories even bring up the fact that we lost two of the greatest rappers of all time, Biggie and Tupac. Both goes back to him. Last night at midnight, 12:30, you know what video I'm watching? I'm watching my interview with Greg Kading. Rob, I'm going to send this to you with Greg Kading. When I showed Greg Kading, because my entire, any of these stories I've not followed closely, but if there's one story I followed, remember three people that events happened in high school that I clearly remember that impacted me as a kid. Magic Johnson getting engaged, Michael Jordan retiring, and Tupac dying. Those 3 events I clearly remember. And when I think about Tupac dying, and as a guy, just like somebody's curious about JFK assassination, I was curious about what happened with this guy. Rob, I just send you the exact cuts that I have if you want to pull this up. I brought Greg Kading in to find out, because I'm convinced, based on my research, I'm not in this world. I'm purely curious, just like somebody is with JFK assassination.
And who is he, Pat? Who is he?
Greg Kading was the leading investigator behind trying to find out who killed Biggie and Tupac, and then accidentally he finds out, but they don't have enough intel, and then they remove him from the investigation last minute, and they're like, no, you can go work on something else. Rob, if the video came in, if you can pull that up, there's just a lot of things with Diddy that, while he's looking at that.
And I wouldn't be surprised, but I would not be surprised if something happens to him in this thing. Because think about it, all the information, now all the stories, all these girls, everybody's coming forward. You're hearing about the Justin Bieber stuff. Now it's getting to a point, he has to be the fall guy. You got to be the fall guy. They got to find all the evidence, because it's a known fact that he recorded everything, just like Epstein. And can you imagine, Tom, you're hanging out and you get a phone call and you're, let's just say, like randomly speaking, you're Bill Clinton, who's been there 52 times, and somebody goes, hey, Bill, they just arrested him and everything's going to come out and he's going to sing like a canary. Guess what you do? suicide his ass in jail. That's what happens. And and Cat Williams, I know we're going to get there, but Cat Williams said there's God's side, you're on that side, or you're on the other side.
Play this clip,
and that's what
and
it
then
is.
We'll go to the other one.
God's side and the other side, and we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is, TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
The truth is the light.
Amen.
So this is Rob, I don't know if the clip ever came through or not. If it didn't come through, Tom, what are your thoughts on this whole story here with Diddy?
Well, there's a couple things. While I speak, Rob, can you look up Robert Kardashian suitcase OJ?
Tom, he's looking for 3 other things right now. So
sorry about that.
But go ahead, give your thoughts.
So when OJ was arrested and there was this big scene at OJ's house, Robert Kardashian walks out of the house with a what's called a suit bag.
Yeah.
Right?
After he got back from Chicago, right? Where OJ went to Chicago.
The garment bag, right? And so he's seen, that's it, right there, walking out the garment bag, and they believe that was bloody clothes and a knife in there.
Yep.
And he was one of the attorneys, so he had the ability to walk into the house and leave. When I look at the plane, Diddy wasn't on the plane, but what was on the plane?
Exactly.
I want to know, are there laptops, are there hard drives? If Diddy's not on it, something left from L.A. and went all the way to Antigua without stopping, and Diddy was, as they said, pacing around Opalaka in the customs area. So so just like this, when people get busted, there's people around you that are trying to protect you and are moving stuff. Maybe they love you, maybe they just work for you, whatever. But my big question here, okay, Diddy wasn't on the plane, but who or what was? Something left L.A. and went all the way to the islands without stopping. And right now, it's like smoke, there's fire. What happens is the longer you go in life, the more enemies you make in this sort of situation. And I believe Epstein had a long list of, enemies. And like that sign on the wall, Epstein didn't hang itself.
Yeah.
Right? And so I look at all that. And right now, my sense is that, and you know me, words talk, numbers scream, but my sense is he's had a long life of controversy and a lot of enemies.
Do you think he's a not sloppy criminal, like a overly arrogant, untouchable, they can't do anything to me type of a criminal where he's like, they can't do nothing. Like, the type of guy that does the crime and then says, nothing can happen to me. I'm untouchable.
Like a Hunter Biden.
Do you think he's convinced he's untouchable?
Yes, because this is the psychological profile of most people over the course of their career. How did they get the Teflon Don? How did they finally get?
They wired a room.
But what was it? Tapes and what years? The last 2 years.
Yeah.
When he was arrogant and he was sloppy and he said things and they got it on the wiretap.
Yeah.
They didn't get a lifetime of evidence on him. They got the last 2 years where he was sloppy and arrogant because you've been going so long getting away with it. You're not as careful as you were in the beginning and your enemies list is big.
Well, I appreciate the OJ reference, Tom, because when I heard he was on a plane taking off to Antigua, I was like, oh, shit.
It's like OJ.
I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens
the
there.
white Bronco on the LA freeway.
Yeah.
So if you recall, this was about 2 weeks ago. There were more stories that came out about Diddy on the Tim Dillon podcast.
Yeah.
Vinny, 100% guilty. I was like, Vinny.
Yeah.
Tim Dillon, quiet for whatever reason. It's looking weirder and weirder and weirder. But listen, if you know anything about hip hop, if you know anything about rap, what's the record label that Diddy founded?
Bad Boys.
He's a bad boy for life.
He is.
We all know that.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Talk about Suge Knight, talk about Tupac.
Oh, he's a gangster.
Could he end up on Death Row Records? We'll see what happens there.
Death Row, really?
Exactly. So, the Me Too situation, the reason that I wasn't like, he's definitely guilty is because there's a spectrum on this. On one hand, you have the Harvey Weinstein stuff, the Bill Cosby stuff, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. Pretty fucking guilty.
Yeah.
And then you have the other stuff that's like, I don't know about that, bro. Andrew Tate, Johnny Depp, innocent. Russell Brand, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
So there's a slippery slope with this. So, on the Tim Dillon podcast, I was like, look, I'm not saying nothing. I've been to some of these Diddy parties, bro. I'm not trying to catch on invite. Here's the reality of what we don't know, nobody knows. I live in Miami. I've lived in Miami my entire life. I've been involved in the
Who said they've been to some of the Diddy parties?
I have.
Oh, okay.
He has.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know girls that, so I have firsthand knowledge from girls that are like, Vinny, you have no idea. And I was like, I don't want to know.
So here's the deal. When you go to these parties in Star Island, I've been on Star Island before, told that story about Demi Moore. There's certain places you can go within the house.
Of course.
Or in the backyard where the party is. You don't get invited upstairs to the master bedroom. So you don't know just because you went to a party. I've been to the Playboy Mansion a few times. I was like, oh, cool, the grotto, go. I'm like, oh, what's up with the mansion? Yeah, you're not going in there, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you don't know what's going on in there. I've gone out with the Ciroc guys, the Rock Boys, plenty of times. Diddy's been in the club plenty of times. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. What we do know is something very weird happened. It went from startup to entrepreneur. Do you ever seen the video of what Diddy makes the call? It's the most famous video.
Yeah, he's like,
course.
Yo, nobody can stop me. I want this, like, hungry entrepreneur. I was like, dude, whatever he's on, I want some of that. Hungry,
Adrenochrome.
viable. There it is. Entrepreneur, producer, rapper. I'll be missing after Biggie. Mogul, Ciroc, billionaire, and then sexual deviant. Where did this all come in? Rapist? Sex trafficking? Where did it all come in? I think you're right. At some point, the power will go to your head. By the way, speaking of power, do you know who Diddy's mentor is?
Clive Owen?
Nope.
Who?
Roll the tape, Rob. You've interviewed him.
Who's the guy? His mentor?
Ray Dalio.
Really?
Ray Dalio is Diddy's mentor. Why? How'd this happen? They were both on some list, top 100 influential people, whatever it was, years ago. So Diddy's real name is what? Sean Combs. C. Dalio, D. They're next to each other in line. They become friends. Look, I'm not saying anything that Ray Dalio did. Zero. I have no clue. But Ray Dalio is his mentor. At some point, what kind of conversations they have. The bottom line is...
Where are you going with all this stuff? I'm trying to track, are we getting to a place?
Yeah, like, were you naked in a room in a bedroom?
Are you saying that Ray is linked to something with...
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying...
Like, I remember this interview. Yes. I watched this interview. I think Ray is... Ray is one of the smartest guys when it comes down to money.
Yep. And
he's probably getting close to him to learn. Anybody would love to go and learn from a guy like Dalio. I don't put anything with Dalio on this list. And we had a very interesting conversation that was extremely heated, but I think he's nothing involved in that kind of a mentor. Financial mentor is different than life mentor.
Sure.
Yeah. I want to categorize that because there's a big difference there.
Fully embrace it.
Dalio also raised $100 million from multiple celebrities to go in a fund.
Yeah.
And so he sees a guy like that. Hey, have you ever thought about investing in stable money?
Are you anything else? Because I want to move on.
I'm not correlating the two. I'm just saying if someone is your mentor.
Because if you've been going for 5 minutes, I'm trying to see where else are we going.
I'm stating
Tuesday.
Okay, no, but go ahead. So Ray Dalio, what else do you have after Dalio?
Well, you cut me off. I have no clue where I'm going at this point. What I'm saying is, look,
because when you're going, I'm trying to follow to see where you're going with your point because I'm trying to climax.
Okay.
And I feel like we're doing foreplay for 6 minutes.
Here we go.
Let's go. I want some penetration here.
Let me climax all over Diddy right now. The reality is this: it's a spectrum. When we talked about the Tim Dillon podcast, Vinny was like 100%, 100%. Cool.
I still believe.
Cool. In my mind, this is where I'm at. And then, Rob, I sent you some results of a poll. This has now gone from being accusations, the Tate stuff, the sex trafficking stuff. We've all learned they hit you with the sex trafficking stuff, the sexual allegations stuff.
These are two different stories.
No. Where I'm going is this is now being categorized from the Tate stuff, the allegations, to full-on Epstein-type stuff.
Well,
something different has transpired.
When all this goes down and your jet goes to an island that has no extradition to the U.S., you're telling people exactly what the hell's going on. Him on it or not, you know what that means? We can't send for it. That's whatever's there is gone.
Yeah. By the way, I love look what the audience says. I'm with them. So, in your opinion, is Diddy guilty? 4,300 people voted. 55%, 1% innocent. Innocent until proven guilty.
That Diddy's family's the 1%.
But the point is, the innocent until proven guilty. You're right. Let's see what happens. And let's prove it. This clip to me.
That's where I was going.
If you can go, Rob, to the video with. Greg Kading. And by the way, before you play this, can you go and type in Greg Kading so people can know who he is? Type in Greg Kading, go to his Wikipedia, okay? Greg Kading is right there, first account, zoom in. So here's who he is. American author, he's LA Department detective, best on working on multiple law enforcement investigating murders of rappers Tupac Shakur and Biggie in the mid-2000s. Many credit Greg Kading and his LAPD task force for 2023 arrest of Dwayne Keefe D. Davis for the murder of 1996 Tupac Shakur. Guess who in the conversations allegedly offered Keefe D. $1 million to take out Tupac? Play the clip.
Believe behind all of this is Puffy. You've said this yourself with $1 million, whether it was $1 million, whether it was $500,000. Tell us a little bit about that.
What I believe happened with Puffy was that, again, I don't think he wanted this conflict to get worse than it already was. And if he could figure out a way to quell that, he would. In fact, we have a statement saying that Puffy had reached out to the members of the Nation of Islam to approach Suge Knight and say, hey, let's have a peace treaty, let's squash this thing, but Suge wanted nothing to do with it. So he was trying to get out from under this imposing threat, knowing that Suge held him responsible for the murder of his friend, and whenever he would come to LA, he knew that Suge Knight was trying to hunt him down.
Wow.
We have a reported incident, an investigation where Suge Knight had accosted one of his associates at a Christmas party in Los Angeles, and they beat the living shit out of this guy. He almost lost his eye in an attempt for these guys to gain knowledge about where he lived in Los Angeles. So he undoubtedly becomes aware of the fact that these guys are actively hunting me down. They're kidnapping, assaulting people. My life's definitely in harm's way. And so I think that out of that desperation and fear, he turned to the streets and said, can you guys kind of handle this for me?
What does that mean?
Because he knew that
Watch this.
if you're going to deal with these gang members, then the best thing to do is get their natural enemies to do the work for you.
And is that the $1 million? $1 million was on the...
According to Keefe D, he says there was a kind of a loose conversations at Greenblatt's up on Sunset, in which Puffy allegedly tells Keefe D, listen, I'm gonna, whatever it takes to get these guys off my back, I need you to take care of them. He says we wanted $1 million. Diddy's like, whatever. But again, I have to couch that with the understanding that he was in fear for his life.
I fully get that.
Yeah,
I fully get that. But the $1 million is from him, but you don't know really if it's $1 million or it's $500,000. Because
I think it's just boastful talking.
Okay, got it.
You know, it's like if I see a really nice car that I like to purchase from you, and I just, man, I'll give you $1 million for that.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of like loose.
So how about the part where Zip gives him the gun? He says, listen, right now's the time to do it. Everyone's in town. Go to 662. Here's the gun that I have. He leaves it to him with the car.
Right.
He gives him the gun. And then afterwards, when they talk on a call, he says, was that us? And they're on the call together listening, and Zip says, yes, that was us.
Keefe says, yes, that was us.
Yes, that was us.
Yeah.
Keefe says that was us. And then he says, we'll take care, Zip says, we'll take care of the money. 6 weeks later, he's not getting the money. And, you know, he's finding out maybe he didn't get paid. And then afterwards, he meets with an associate of P. Diddy, Puffy, saying, yeah, we did pay. But Zip kept it, and then when they met, is that all been
so you see what happened? Right?
That maybe he did keep the money, or they did not.
So you can
pay?
pause it if you want to watch the rest. But here's the point. The point is this: who died first, Biggie or Tupac?
Wow.
Who died first?
Tupac, right?
Tupac died
in
first.
Vegas.
So where is Keefe? Where is he from? East Coast or West Coast?
Keefe, is he from West Coast?
Keefe is who called Keefe?
Diddy called him.
Diddy called Keefe. Why did he call Keefe? Why did he call Keefe? Because he got in contact that this is the guy that could take him out, and he's got a reputation for being involved in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Keefe just went to jail. According to AP News, can you go up? I think 2023 he went to jail, Rob. If you can go When did Keith go to jail?
Very recent, right? A couple months ago.
So here's a guy that goes to jail. Tupac murder trial delayed. And anyways, there's an AP news that Keith gets arrested. So, but why would Keith kill Tupac? Why would Keith go out there and why would he do that? Why would he go do something like that? Would he do it for free? No. What is his animosity? A guy like that is going to do a job like that based on what? Go to his profile. Okay, right there. Last living suspect of 1996 drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur, indicted in Las Vegas on murder charge. But why would he do that? What's his motive?
Money?
It's either because Tupac said something about him, which he didn't, or it's because he's getting paid 100%. To go take somebody out. So who paid Keith? So why is Keith going, but the guy that paid Keith is not going? Where is that involvement? So my interest, as much as these stories we read about, I still want to know what happened to the greatest rapper of all time. And I'm not happy with what this guy did. I think he took out both. Again, I don't know the exact. It's my opinion. I think this guy, based on what I've read and the investigation I've done, I think he was behind both Biggie and Tupac, and that changed the dynamics of hip hop. And I don't know. I'm not a. I don't even follow any of these stories. My pure interest was with what he did to Tupac and Biggie. And I'd like to get to the bottom of that because the guy's still around. I want to know what this guy did to those guys.
Yep.
Not a fan of what this guy did either, by the way.
Yeah.
Just some food for thought about hip-hop. Like, for our younger audience, under 30, I don't know if you guys have any idea how big that East Coast, West Coast beef was in the 90s. Communism had just failed. It was no longer communism versus capitalism. It was pre-2000. It wasn't as contentious as it was Republicans and Democrats. That wasn't a huge narrative at this point. Eastern, Western civilization, clash of cultures wasn't a thing really until 2001. In the 90s, East Coast, West Coast beef, Suge Knight, Diddy, Puffy, Tupac.
Talking shit at the Source Awards. Come to death row.
It was the number one beef in America. It consumed us. So everything that's going on there was the biggest story in the world at that point. So
apparently the CIA, there's a big story that came out where the CIA was involved with making gangster rap gangsters so they would kill each other. That was a story. But anyway,
look, the point is, obviously, we're watching all this stuff to see what's going to happen with Diddy. But this guy's got a rap of just doing a lot of shady. I mean, it's unattractive, and even the demeanor. It's not hard to watch someone's demeanor on how they behave, and how they do certain things. We'll see. I mean, again, innocent until proven guilty, but there's something going on right now. We'll see what happened there. All right, next story. Rob, can you pull up Baltimore? What happened with that bridge? There's a lot of weird things going on. 1:30 in the morning today, guys. Apparently, allegedly, a bridge collapses because a ship who is ran by some professional people runs into the bridge. Can you play this clip, Rob, on how the bridge comes down in watch this here, guys. Go back a little bit. Watch this. Boom. Slow motion.
Oh, my God, bro.
Bridge goes down. It's 40 degrees outside. That water is 30 degrees. Some are saying the bridge didn't hit anything. Some are saying it did. Even the captains that have been doing this for the longest time, Rob, what did they say with the experience that they have? You were saying something, the fact that they've been doing this route for a long time, the captain has been?
Yeah, I believe that Baltimore Harbor is their main harbor, so they navigate that daily.
They navigate that daily, and this happened at 1:30 in the morning. The number that I saw, I think it was what? Let me read this number to you on what it was, 20 people. So where's that story for Baltimore Bridge collapses? It says page 5.
It's on the addendum, Pat.
Yeah, so video ship Dolly rams into Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to collapse, prompting Maryland Transportation Authority to issue a warning against using the Interstate 695. Kevin Cartwright was from Baltimore City Fire Department, describes it as mass casualty, multi-agency incident with potential victims in the water. The bridge collapse disrupts both shipping and road transportation, impacting one of the busiest ports on the East Coast and severing a crucial link on the major highway in circling Baltimore. The vessel involved, Dali, registered in Singapore, carrying approximately 4,900 containers, arrived at the Seagrid Marine Terminal in Baltimore after delivery to Port of New York, New Jersey. The incident halts shipping operations, affecting the bustling port, which in 2023 handled the highest volume of autos and light trucks in U.S. for 13th consecutive year. So kind of weird when you're seeing this. I think 20 people, can you find out how many people fell underwater? I think 20 people Some people late at night is typically when they work on that bridge, based on what I read earlier this morning. Do we have any stories on how many people fell in the water? Is there like an update on the story? Vinny, what are your thoughts?
I saw a couple of reports that the ship it changed its course approximately 2 minutes prior to hitting the bridge. The lights go out twice right before it goes on. Some people, I mean, and again, we don't know, but some people are saying it could be a cyber attack. This is the most traveled cargo for like cars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is going to disrupt this path horribly. Like something at this magnitude, it doesn't. I don't think this is like a whoops. The power went out and I just crashed into something. I think there's something deeper that's going on with the story.
Well, speaking of something deeper going on, who is the Secretary of Transportation?
Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg.
So. Look, Pete Buttigieg just had almost, honestly, the highlight of his career during the State of the Union when Joe Biden singled him out and he was like, dude, you're killing it. Like, Pete Buttigieg had a big smile, everything that's going on. Look, I'm sure there's a ton of stories to go here. This situation here, your story with East Palestine, I want to know what Pete Buttigieg has to say here. Like, if you ask any major Biden supporter, give me his accomplishments, they'll always point to the bipartisan infrastructure deal.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on, guys, but these things, they need to be looked at.
You know what that reminds me of? You said it a couple weeks ago. Remember the beginning of that movie, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama? What was it? Leave the world behind. What's it open with?
The ship that's coming.
The ship is just coming, and people are like, what's happening? Because it was an attack, cyber attack.
Interesting.
That right there looks to me, how does it just boom, change course, lights go out? That looks like that's like you nailed it too, Adam. An infrastructure attack. That could be something that's set up by foreign agents. Who knows, bro? That's really rare and random to see.
You know, you can speculate and go down that path, and you can also just say a great big ship, lost power, couldn't turn. And by the way, it takes forever to turn those big ships. Those big things, they're very, very slow, but it's like the weight. And
it takes a while to move a small boat that we go on, right? Let alone a big ship that size.
And it hits it. This is an older steel bridge with the steel infrastructure post. They hit it, they crumple it, it goes down. I mean, look at the size of that thing. It takes forever to turn that thing. We're talking something that's like 12, 15 stories tall. If you've ever been to a port and driven by, all those little squares that you see on that, those are the size of the back of a semi. And you see them, they get put on the back of trucks and they go deliver things. This thing just ran right into the end of it. Kawunk. And so is it as simple as they lost power, they couldn't turn, and oh crap, they hit a bridge? Is it that simple, or is there, it was an electrical pulse and it affected their GPS? Okay, well, where are the rest of the boats running into things, if that's what's going on? If there is I want to wait and see what's going on here.
You make a very good point.
The real issue is there were 8 people innocently working last night on an evening shift, and 6 of them are missing in the water, and families are asking, where's our loved one? I mean,
Rob, did Pete Buttigieg say something? I just saw you had a Pete Buttigieg video.
I can't verify that this came out today, but there is video of Pete Buttigieg talking about how bridges are racist.
Oh yeah, I love this.
How what?
He said bridges in the East Coast.
This came out a while ago. So let's see how racist this bridge was.
Underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or it would have been, in New York, was designed too low for it to pass by. That obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices.
There's a part of this that he's actually right, because this is about the book written by, what was that power broker name in New York, Tom? Do you know who I'm talking about? The power broker in New York? What was the guy's name? Robert Morris or something like that. Robert Moses and the Fall of New York. What he's talking about is about the power broker. It's a different bridge. He's talking about how they try to keep people away from certain communities by keeping the bridge so low that it couldn't go under it. There is actual some credibility behind
it. So they couldn't bust children this way and that way.
He's actually pretty accurate on that part. All you have to do is read this book and you'll see this guy was maybe the most powerful man in New York ever that wasn't actually the governor. But, okay, so that's the Baltimore. Unfortunately, hopefully we'll get a little bit more story on what's going on with that there. Let's go to the next story. Ohtani. Little weird. on what's going on with Ohtani. So here's a guy that gets a $700 million contract from the Dodgers. Tom is sitting there thinking the Dodgers are going to win back to back to back to back to back.
He called me crying.
With an incredible organization and people that they've put together. And then this weird story comes out with Ohtani and the interpreter, and it's changed so many times. Ohtani denies betting on baseball, saddened, shocked by the scandal, okay? Saddened, shocked by the scandal. Categorically denies involvement in sports betting, asserting, I have never bet on baseball or any other sport. He may be right. Maybe he did through somebody else, is what a lot of people are saying. And expresses profoundly dismay, stating, I'm very saddened and shocked that someone who I trust has done this. Ohtani refutes allegations made by his former interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, labeling them as a complete lie, and stresses, I never agreed to pay off this debt or make payments to the bookmakers. The scandal, triggered by massive theft from Ohtani's bank account, prompts a formal investigation by Major League Baseball, with Ohtani affirming, I'm going to let my lawyers handle this from here on out, and pledges full cooperation with the ongoing inquiry. Tom.
So there's a couple angles here. So you get this player, and he has an interpreter. And the one thing that is not in dispute here, and there were people with the Angels that said that Mizuhara liked to play tables, and he liked to do things. And so Mizuhara has a gambling issue. Mizuhara getting like 80 to 100 grand a year paid by the Angels and then the Dodgers to be an interpreter. And by the way, there's a lot of interpreters in Major League Baseball. There's Spanish interpreters. There's all kinds of them for players that are not yet bilingual.
Vinny had an interpreter in his famous clip.
Yep.
And so Mizuhara has a gambling issue. He's got a friendship that's really developed with Ohtani. And Mizuhara said, I asked him if he would pay off my marker. I it was several $1 million.
Jeez.
And, like $3.5–4 million, I think the total number was. And so apparently over a course of weeks, $500,000 at a time, which was the max for a wire transfer, which is also confirmed that was the max, went from Ohtani's account to a bookmaker. So option one, Ohtani felt bad for his interpreter, who now he has a friendship with, and paid his gambling debt. By the way, that's happened before with a lot of people. However, in baseball, you're supposed to be like light years away from the gambling establishment. So there's option one. Option two, Mizuhara and Ohtani were gambling together, and Ohtani was paying for their bets.
Oh.
So option three is Ohtani said, hey, the guy got close to me and has paid off his gambling debts. It's a lie. So the one in the middle is missing. What we're having here is Mizuhara says, my friend paid off my debts. Ohtani is saying, no, I found out later that he got access to my account and he transferred it. The problem I have with Ohtani's story, Pat, is it was multiple transfers over 3 weeks.
And what is he gambling? Like, I get it.
So if you stole it from somebody, wouldn't you notice, or the business manager say, hey, Ohtani, what'd you buy? You buy another Ferrari? Why?
Yeah.
500,000 just went out. Oh, there it goes again. 500,000 went out. Wait, it's 3.5 now. Are you making payments on a Varun?
No. Yeah.
So Ohtani is saying, nope. My lawyers will talk to Major League Baseball. I want nothing to do with this. I'm here to play ball. And this guy stole from me. Mizuhara says, wait a minute. I'm just saying that I had a gambling problem and Ohtani paid my bets. And we're going to find out, hopefully, from Major League Baseball. However, Major League Baseball doesn't have the best track record
with gambling.
Major League Baseball is very good at protecting Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball frequently leaves players and owners out swinging in the wind when things happen, and sometimes takes steps that are kind of outside the lines. I mean, we've seen that happen. So I think there's something that's really got to come out here. And my gut, Pat, is that the Mizuhara story is probably the one. Hey, man, you got to help me with my bets. We've been friends like 8 years and everything. What? Oh, my gosh, this is expensive. Well, I'll transfer it for you. I can only do 500,000 at a time.
Got it.
I pay it off.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So you make very good point. There's a couple weird things here. when you look at this. And I was looking at a bunch of different things and reading a bunch of different things. So Ohtani, first of all, says he doesn't speak English, but he does. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the interpreter is there, but he speaks English. So Rob, you can Google this and say, does Ohtani speak English? He actually does speak English.
Choppy, but yes.
Yeah. The interpreter says he went to UC Davis and got a degree there, but no, he never went to UC Davis to get a degree, the interpreter. That was fabricated, so it's not a true. Right here, there's a story from Sports Illustrated. Ohtani can't speak English, but he is more comfortable in his first language. Normally, he has his interpreter with him whenever he addresses a more American audience. However, during his acceptance speech for his MVP award last night, Ohtani surprised everyone and spoke in English. And by the way, that was 2 months ago when he said that, right? Next, these two have been friends since they were kids. Like, literally, they've been friends since they were kids. Mm-hmm. And Ohtani, strangely so, was at the March Madness game in 2019. That is 5 years ago, right? So why was Ohtani at March Madness game in 2019? Some are saying, well, you know, March Madness is all about gambling, and maybe he has this and he has that. Okay, no problem. That's totally fine. Last but not least, the way to look at it, Pete Rose reacted to this. Rob, do you have the clip of Pete Rose reacting to this? If you don't, let me send it to you. You should be able to find it on Twitter. If you just type, right there, that's the one right there. Go ahead and play that clip. Watch this.
Hey guys, Matt Thrash here, enjoying some March Madness with my great friend Pete Rose. And we were talking about the current goings on in baseball right now, and Pete wanted to mention something.
Well, back in the 70s and 80s, I wish I'd have had an interpreter. I'd be scot-free.
He would have been free.
There you have it from the Hit King.
So here's now where Major League Baseball is in a pickle, okay? Because you potentially have the modern-day Babe Ruth. Closest thing we've ever had to Babe Ruth is Ohtani.
Correct.
Okay? The guy can pitch and win a Cy Young, and the guy can hit and potentially win a Triple Crown.
Wow.
This is a very weird type of an athlete, once in a lifetime. So guess who doesn't want to lose a guy like this? The Major League Baseball doesn't want to lose a guy like this. So if you investigate this and all of this stuff comes true that he did, what are you going to do then? Are you going to suspend him for a season and have the league lose him for a season? Maybe, maybe not. What did you do with the Houston Astros? Did you ever take the World Series away from them, Rob Manfred?
No, they didn't.
You never did, right?
You punished two coaches and you let the owner go.
And all the players. What do you mean, everybody?
But they kept, and he knew, right? What did Aaron Judge say about that? What did Dodger players say about that? What was their reaction? Because Yankees were like, dude, that should be ours, 100%. Right? 100%. The Dodgers could even argue that should be ours, and you know they were cheating. Nothing. They moved on. Now, power to the Astros, respected them. They came back and they won afterwards, saying, no, we are really a good team. You got to salute and say, great, you proved your argument, whatever. A couple guys left, but, you know, for the most part, the little guy
Altuve.
100%
cheater.
Yeah, 100% cheater, but he won a couple. He won once cheating, and he won once not cheating. So it is what it is. So, but this could be a little bit tricky, because if they know all of this stuff happened and everybody else knows, and they do nothing to Ohtani may be the reason why Pete Rose ends up in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that'd be so great.
That would be the weirdest thing on where the MLB has to sit there and say, hey, you're going to do this, but you're not going to put Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader in the history of baseball that would always jump and slide in face first. You're not going to put that guy in there? Okay, what's the difference? But there's a lot of weird things going on with this. I'm very curious to know how Manfred's going to handle this entire situation. Adam.
Here's my biggest beef with the MLB. Like, now I do not even watch baseball at this point. I love basketball. That's what I watch. I'll watch, some football. Maybe I'll watch the World Series. Growing up, dude, 86 Mets, forget about it, okay? Then I grew up in Miami. Marlins, 2 World Series, new franchise, amazing. Since the steroids era, arguably dozens and certainly top 5 players are not in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is a top 10 player of all time, not in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds is a top 5 player all time, not in the Hall of Fame. Mark McGwire, what they did for the sport with Sammy Sosa during that home run race, what was that, 1998? Yeah. Ridiculous. Rafael Palmeiro. We had Roger Clemens here on the podcast. I don't think he's in the podcast.
Hall of Fame.
Is he not?
No, he's not.
No. Okay. These are the greatest players of our generation. They've signed our walls here, not in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. So let's say he is found guilty of something.
Mm-hmm.
He is arguably the Babe Ruth of this generation. Hitter, pitcher, beast. Now, this guy doesn't go in the Hall of Fame. Something's very weird with baseball. Very freaking weird that the best players don't end up in the Hall of Fame.
All right, so there you have it, Tom. Final thoughts, baseball.
I think you got to let it play out, and this is when sports gets dirty, which is incredibly disappointing. But we're going to let it play out.
On a good note, on the other side, Trevor Bauer is making progress. He had a game recently where he went up against the facing the Yankees. Obviously, it's not Major League Baseball, but he was pitching 96, 98 mile an hour pitches, nasty slider, 3 scoreless innings. And he's trying to prove a point that listen, man, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Pay me the minimum $720. Just give me a shot. And I know a couple teams. I know one specific team that would benefit from having a guy like this on their team. But we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there with that. Let's move on to the last story before we wrap up. Okay, so Daily Wire announces that they fired Candace Owens. Commentator Candace Owens is fired, with Jeremy Boring puts the tweet out there that this announcement was made, and the world lost their minds. And some say, well, we knew this day was coming. There's no way in the world this was going to be kept the way it was handled, wasn't fair, wasn't this, wasn't that. But let me kind of read it to you here. There will be no more Candace Owens at Daily Wire amid claims the conservative commentator promoted anti-Semitic rhetoric. This is New York Daily News, by the way. The right-wing political website announced Friday it has severed ties with Owens, known for support for Trump and Kanye West, famous for their own controversial comments. Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. Co-founder Jeremy Boring wrote on social media, and Owens puts out there saying, I am finally free, she said in recent months. Owens cited a firestorm of backlash with her anti-Semitic commentary about the United States' role in the ongoing war. Look at the words they're using in these.
Anti-Semitic. They love that word.
Owens also floated claims that with a small group of Jewish in Hollywood and Washington, D.C. were involved in something sinister. Okay, so now Newsweek. Keep in mind how they're all reacting to this. Candace Owens says she cannot be silenced after the Daily Wire exit. Daily Wire CEO blasts Candace Owens after Christ is King. This was a little bit of a weird tweet, Rob. Can you pull this up of Jeremy Boring, that Christ is King, and is this the one? Yeah, so how is saying Christ is King anti-Semitic, says the CEO, Jeremy Boring of Daily Wire. We've had him on. I actually really enjoyed the conversation we had. The same way anything becomes anti-Semitic when it is used for the purpose of expressing anti-Semitism. It's like asking, how does a shovel become a murder weapon when it is used to murder someone? This isn't hard. A shovel is not innately a murder weapon. Saying Christ is King is not innately anti-Semitic. It's all about how a thing is used. Saying eat some cornbread is not racist if I say to my 3-year-old when she is refusing a dinner. If I start saying it to a response on X post by black commentators I don't like, it has taken on a meaning beyond what is innate. In other words, it is connotatively racist, not how do you pronounce that word? Denotatively? Denotatively racist. So to Christ is King may be anti-Semitic in connotation while not in denotation when it is used to express anti-Semitism. When did this become so? It has always been so. It is so. Yes, innately. Additionally, saying Christ is King for an evil purpose, like using it as a weapon to express your... I mean, it's just
what the hell?
You could have stopped a long time.
That's a ChatGPT. That's asking ChatGPT.
So...
That's asking ChatGPT.
Anyways, I haven't commented on this. I'll give my thoughts here. Vinny, what are your thoughts about what's going on here with Daily Wire and Candace Owens?
I just think, like you said, and listen, let's all be honest with each other. I still, to this day, have not found one person, not one, that can have any critical, negative thoughts about what's happening with Israel and Palestine and not be thrown under the bus and considered an anti-Semitic. It's as if Israel can't do anything wrong. And if you do say one thing about Netanyahu or you say something about the tactics, it's automatically you're anti-Semitic. What's happening, that Rabbi Shmuley, who is just, the more and more he speaks, the more and more, people are turning away. Look at this this is the video that he made. Okay, by the way, he's a rabbi, and I wanted to ask you, Adam, because I literally, genuinely have zero idea. I'm a Christian. Our priests are, they're not allowed to be involved with writing sex books or selling lubes or whatever the hell his sex
Play
shop
this clip. First, see this clip,
This
guys.
is what he does.
Hi, everybody. Purim is a day of celebration. We feel bad for Candace Owens that she lost her job. So I figure, with her image of what Jews are supposed to look like, why not at least validate her? I am dressed up as a Candace Owens Jew. Now, this is not a Christian child, this Jewish child. But if it would be, I got my Christian blood.
What a disgusting
spicy,
guy.
delicious. I got my Jewish nose. I have filth, because Jews are all filth. And more than anything else, what does 80 have? Money! Yeah, we Jews are all about money!
All about the Benjamins.
Hey, wait. All about the Benjamins. Wait, I'm getting a little bit thirsty. Where's the matzah? I don't want to finish the whole thing and not mix it into the matzah. So can someone just bring me? She did say, one second, she did say that I was getting,
What a weird
liked that
this,
tweet.
by the way. It's kind of disturbing. You go on the bottom on the clip, there's videos of him grinding a 12-year-old boy sitting on top of
grinding boys. Like, by the way, those kids, what do you think those kids are saying and thinking? And it's like, bro, if you followed what Candace was saying, if you followed this entire story, all she was asking was questions. And she was also saying, you know what? What's going on? When is enough? How many innocent children have to die? The fight that this guy's been going after Candace, because, again, you cannot say anything. You cannot
Rob,
be
can
critical.
you pull up the clip of how this got started? I think this got started with Ben Shapiro being recorded on camera.
Yep. Standing on the table.
Standing on, I don't
with
know
his
where
shoes
he was.
on.
Can you pull up that clip? I think that's how this whole thing started. I don't know if you'll find it or not. While you're looking for that, Tom, what are your thoughts about this here?
So I don't want to talk about that rabbi and that disgusting caricature that he portrayed there. If anybody did that about any other group in any other way, you'd be subject to such response and even attempts to cancel and all that. So let's set that aside. I look at it this way. Jeremy and Ben run a media company. They're the bosses. They employ Candace. Candace does her shows. Jeremy and Ben have positions on things in their media company. Candace ends up counter to Ben on some positions. The CEO can say, you know what, Candace? You have the freedom to say what you want, but on our show here, on that, I disagree with you. And you know what? I disagree for the following reasons. You know what? Maybe this isn't the best place for you. Happens at Salem Broadcasting. It happens at a lot of places. That's how Rush Limbaugh ended up on his own network. This happens in media all the time. Good CEOs go behind closed doors and sit down with people and say, maybe this isn't working out. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Why don't we take care of it like this? Instead, I fault Ben. You're the founder or co-founder, whatever you and Jeremy refer to that as, and you were the CEO or are the CEO or have the influence of the CEO, and you make a comment about one of your employees in a public way. And suddenly you spark and this thing spills out in public. And I don't think that was particularly good management. And I don't think that was particularly good leadership. And it ends with the employee leaving. I kind of boil it down that simple, Pat.
And what about Tom when she says Christ is king? Where do you see the anti-Semitism? No matter how she did, all she did was post that.
All the rest of the subpoints, how they play out, it's going to be, oh, well, that's like this or this is like that. That's like this. Once you play it out and you start what I call phrase picking and saying, well, that on that day in that way was anti-Semitic, or this in this day wasn't very nice, or this on this day wasn't supportive of leadership. You know what no one is saying? No one's backing up and saying, hey, Ben, hey, Jeremy, you're running a company. Aren't you the leaders? Why are you doing this thing in public? If you want to build your media company and build things what you stand for, you've had some really good films that have come out making very important points. Why don't you guys just kind of calm down, go behind closed doors and have a conversation with each other and figure it out? Why spill this out in public this?
So Rob, if you can play the first clip, if you have this one, play this clip, because this is how it starts, right? Play this.
Yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
So then, right after this, comments are made the next day. She's on Tucker Carlson. And this wasn't obviously planned. You don't just go on Tucker Carlson the next day because Tucker's got a schedule, she's got a schedule. This was probably booked 6 weeks or 2 months in advance. Like we had Dave Rubin the other day, the day before.
Yep.
The market's like, oh, did Dave reach out to come on today? No, we had Dave booked how many weeks prior to that, Rob? Like
it was a while, about a month.
About a month prior to that he was booked, and he came with the calendar. Play this clip here with Candace.
Call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step. What? And I really don't know the background here. What is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one warned you about it.
Nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like
Yes.
it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on. And in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not, we disagree, or
Yeah.
I don't think she's correct, or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said. But I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks.
Yes.
I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said. And you know what? Ben and I have many disagreements, so I don't think that that's particularly something that's interesting. We disagreed on the COVID vaccine. We disagree on Ukraine and Russia. He has taken virtually every stance that has been the opposite of mine on every issue over the last 5 years. So I don't think that that's particularly
On the COVID
remarkable.
vaccine. Really, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was pro the COVID vaccine. I'm
Pause it
anti the
right
vaccine.
here.
You know,
I'll give my thoughts. And then Adam, I'll come to you.
Sure.
Okay. So here's kind of how I process this. I enjoy watching Candace a lot. I enjoy watching Tucker, and I enjoy watching Ben Shapiro. There's been things I've agreed and disagreed on with everybody. When you see something like this happen, you don't want to see something like this happen. But it's from more the strategic standpoint. When I watch this, I see a couple different things. One is the way this was handled, with Candace saying what she said, and then privately calling her out disgraceful in an event, and you guys disagree on certain issues politically. Okay, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. We sit here on the podcast today, me and Adam disagree, and then Adam and Vinny will disagree. Adam and Vinny, whatever it is, we'll have the disagreements. We'll hash it out. We'll move on, and it's totally fine. Ben Shapiro, to me, like I said to Dave Rubin, is a number one voice for the Jewish community worldwide. I don't think he's got a louder voice. Nobody's got a louder voice than he does. Very influential. But Jeremy Boring, it's a different story if the CEO, Jeremy Boring, putting himself in a position like this, that he defends automatically Ben Shapiro and, the positions she takes with Christ is King. There's so many different elements here to unpack. Christ is King. Okay, people can have differences in their faith. You can have a difference in your faith on what you think with Jesus, what you think with, Jews, Christians, Scientology. I was in an office for 3 years, and I was working with half the office were all Scientologists. I was in another office where everybody was Mormon, LDS, Joseph Smith, Book of Mormon. Everything we talked about was that, and we were able to coexist. There is nothing wrong with that if debate is the issue. The position Daily Wire took, which is going to be very interesting to see how that whole organization is going to react to it. Jeremy Boring's moves are coming across more as being a manager to Ben Shapiro, and only Ben Shapiro, than a Dana White being put in a position to manage and drive a company. Now, if he makes this decision as the CEO, I don't know if they have a board. I don't know if the board has a voice. I know the Wilkes brothers, who are this billionaire family that have been investors in their organization. They've been investors in PragerU organization. They've been investors in many different organizations. Their faith, if I'm not mistaken, the Wilkes brothers, Rob, if you can pull them up, I think they're one of those, what's that, not 7 Day, but Tom, the Jews for Jesus organization, which they're...
Messianic Jews?
It's called the Assembly of Yahweh 7 Day, which...
7 Day Adventists?
Which they are Jews for Jesus type of a organization, which these are the founders, these are the investors that are within the organization. When you make a position like that and you're defending Ben Shapiro the way you did, and you're obviously going against anybody that says Christ is King, and one of their talents comes out 3 days ago, I don't know what his name is, he makes a video saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic. Rob, if you have that clip, I know you have this clip, if you can send it to Rob. You watch all of this stuff. This is the one. If you can play this clip, go out and play this clip. What is his name? Clavon?
When I did this, by the way, the priest who baptized me said, Christians won't accept you. You'll still be a Jew. And I said, well, I am. That's my race. I'm a Jew. I'm proud of my race. It's a great race. It's done many, many great things, including write the Bible. And, I am a Jew. But that hasn't happened at all. Christians have welcomed me with open arms, except this Christ the King anti-Semitic crowd. Oh, God. Christ is the King. And one day, every knee will bow and recognize it, because he's not just my king, he's king of the universe. But when you use that phrase to mean that God has abandoned his chosen people, the Jews, through whom he came into this world incarnate, and that he's broken his promises, his covenant with the Jews, you are quoting scripture like Satan does in the Bible. You are quoting scripture.
What are you? Let me tell you, that is super heavy. Oh my! That is super heavy when you make a comment like that. And by the way, you know where this goes? Let me tell you where this goes. So it would have been different if Jeremy takes a position to say, yeah, we have different denominations here. Everybody has the right to defend whatever faith and religion they have. And, and by the way, this guy used to be the pastor for, I think, what is the Republican club in Hollywood, Tom,
Friends of Abe?
Friends of Abe, right? I think he was one of the founders, and he was the pastor of that group, if I'm not mistaken. Jeremy Boring.
With Kelsey Grammer.
Yes. I mean, Jeremy Boring is within this space, he's a heavyweight on what he did. There you go, Executive Director Jeremy Boring. I think he was their pastor, so Christian. He's well-read on the faith and all this other stuff. So, I don't know. When you handle it that way, what you're pinning your brand as is, I will 100% defend Ben Shapiro, and that is it. And it's going to be very hard for other people who want to coexist. Now, they may well sit there and say, we can lose everybody, but as long as we have me and Ben, we're going to be all right, and we'll go till the very end. Great. It's going to be tough to have other people who want to coexist if you brand yourself that way. It's very difficult. Now, they may also look at Candace, because if you look at their lineup, Ben is considered an intellect. Jordan Peterson considered an intellect, right? A lot of these guys may be considered an intellect. Maybe to them, they don't view Candace as an intellect. Maybe they look at Candace and say, she lacks intellect. She is not as scholarly educated on the history of this and this and that, and 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 that's who it is. Well, I think America probably relates more to somebody like her and everybody else who thinks they are the intellect, because that is a form of being an elitist if you think everything you do is right and you're not willing to have those types of conversations with others. So I actually don't know the decision they made. However, here's how business works. Tom, you and I know this. If your decisions, say whatever number they have, a lot of people online are throwing around a number that their top line revenue is $200 to $250 million per year. Okay, it's a real business. $200 to $250 million per year. No problem. They got a lot of big projects going on. I think most of them are committed for movies, this, and that. Okay, no problem. Everyone's going to see the effect of Candace Owens, what it's going to cost in subscribership, in dollar amount, in revenue. Maybe they're right. Maybe she's right. Market's going to decide. But if you make too many decisions like this and it's one-sided and you oust the other side, it feels like if I'm going here, I can only be on one side. And if I'm not safe because I could go somewhere else. The series of the way they made their decisions is questionable. But every time you run a business, I'm also on the other side when I run a business, and every decision we make, it's easy to target. Hey, look at what they did with the insurance company. Look what they did, and the Pat's wrong, and this is why they're losing, and people are leaving, and da-da-da. It's so easy to also take shots while you're actually a person running the business. It is very hard to run a company. It is very hard to start a company and grow to $250 million, whatever the top line revenue is, and have the employees, and especially in a space that you're giving your opinions. It has got to be super hard, and you're constantly going to be having shots being taken at you, but that's the job you chose to have. The market will look at you and see, if you think this was the right decision to make, let's see how the market reacts to it, and they will with numbers, with subscribers, and dollars. Tom.
And that's the market, and I've been very clear. Daily Wire has made some great content, great films that I think need to be made that are very helpful to their audience. What I look at is the how. And Pat, I've watched you over the years. You've had very difficult discussions have had to happen with some sales leaders. I've never seen you put out a tweet that rips somebody up or call them publicly disgraceful. I've seen you take names out of it and speak to a sales meeting, you know, some of you I'll be speaking to because we need to make the company better, and I don't think you're as good as you can be. I've heard you say things like that. That's a general statement where everybody sits back there. Boy, I hope that's not about me. Maybe I should reflect on how I'm doing. And then I've seen you in private, at private meetings, sit down with people, no microphones, no camera, and look somebody in the eye and say, what are you doing? What was this all about? And then take them through the facts. How do you think that looks to your team? How do you think that looks to other people? How do you think that reflects on the company? Those are best done privately to move a company forward. And I think the leadership, if I was Ben, I wouldn't have done it that way, because you're in a media company. It's going to explode, and you can have those conversations quietly.
See, the difference is, Tom, I'm okay with Ben saying that. I'm actually okay with what Ben said, because you know what Ben says? Ben says, number one priority in my life is my faith, and I'm a Jew. That's my number one priority. It's Israel. It's my faith. It's where I stand. Fine. That's totally I have fine. No problem with that, right?
Do you?
Number two is my conservative beliefs, et cetera, where I'm at. Number three is Daily Wire and the other talent. Obviously, you can put family in there as well. I'm taking family out. But that's how he's no problem. You can do that. If you, the guy that's running the business, then can kind of bring everybody together to dinner, that's a part of your job, to do the dinner, and nobody needs to know. And by the way, maybe they had the dinner. Maybe, you know, Candace and George had dinner with Ben and his wife, and everybody's around and sitting there talking and saying, guys, what's on your mind? What's going on? Well, look, here's where he stands. Here's where she stands. Can we coexist? Can we because at the end of the day, guess who's the enemy? The enemy is not Daily Wire. The enemy is not Candace. The enemy is not Ben Shapiro. The enemy is what the manipulation is taking place amongst your kids on what they're doing with religion, with faith, with families, with policies, with border. That is the enemy. Can we unify against the real enemy? If then one says, nope, this is where I draw the line. You screwed up. I'm done with you. Then we got to make a decision, right? And if that meeting's been had, guess what? Salute. Good for Jeremy for having that. But if that meeting's not been had, and maybe they're having it right now, I don't even know what's. But the point is, it's a little bit strange. But the market will react, and we'll see what they're going to say. See what they're going to say, Adam.
All right. Well, we've spent some good amount of time with Candace, and let me just say off top, I've enjoyed my time with Candace. I thought she was great. We've done content, we've done interviews, we did the live podcast. Really enjoy Candace. She has problems with certain individuals, not groups. And I think that's a distinguishment everyone needs to make. I often say some of my favorite people in the world are Jews. Some of my least favorite people in the world are Jews. Some of my favorite people in the world are Mexicans. Least favorite, Mexicans. Goes down the list, Muslims, Arabs, Christians, Catholics, all that. They have problems with individuals. The thing with Ben and Candace.
If you would have said Assyrian or Armenian,
this shit would have been ugly real quick.
We all know about those Assyrians.
Right.
Yeah.
We all know about the Assyrians. They're very hospitable and hung. But we all like...
So stupid. Just finish.
Keep private information.
Sorry.
No, why are you going to... No.
Go ahead.
Guys,
make your point.
Single. We've all seen relationships that publicly, like I'm talking dating, husband, wife, where they're fighting, it's ugly. It's like, if this is what's going on in public, what we see, what in the world is happening behind closed doors? Once the Ben and Candace thing started going on, I think we all knew this thing was not going to last long. It was not inevitable.
And what was it? It was the Israel conflict.
Well, and I'll get into the policy difference in a second. So, number one, the rabbi situation. One guy, one rabbi doesn't speak for an entire religion. This guy is an entertainer at first and foremost. That's what he is.
Shmuley,
exactly. What people don't know is that, why is he dressed up like this? Did he just decide one day to be a great costume? The current holiday that is going on in the Jewish world is called Purim. Purim is the Jewish Halloween. So this was his cute little Halloween thing. I think it's beneath a rabbi. I think any rabbi of mine should never do anything like this. But if we want to go down the slippery slope of religious leaders doing the wrong things, yeah, okay, your Catholic priests, they don't represent every Catholic person out there. Don't get me started on the imams calling for jihad. They don't represent every Muslim Arab out there. So this guy doesn't represent Judaism or Israel. He represents himself. That's it, period. Number two, Candace, she did about a month ago, she outlined exactly where she stood on this overall topic. And the first 10 minutes, she talked about her entire life. She was surrounded by Jewish friends. My best friend is Jewish. I went to more Rosh Hashanah dinners than any non-Jew should ever go to. My first job in finance, Jewish person. She said she lived and dated with a guy who was Jewish. So I don't think someone like that just goes down to anti-Semite. I think she's fighting specifically about policy disagreements, specifically with Ben. She talked about the COVID thing. She talked about the Russia thing. She talked about the Ukraine thing. She talked about the Israel thing. At the end of the day, she's on the isolationist camp. Don't do anything. Don't fund anything. Ben is clearly on the interventionist camp. Fund this. War in Israel, war in Russia. That's what they had a disagreement on. They could not work that out. I believe adamantly in free speech. There's people on this chat right now calling me a gay Jew. Okay? Only one of those things is true, buddy. I'm a proud Jew.
I actually just messaged it in the chat
Vinny.
too.
Gotcha. Guys, keep it coming. I love the haters. I love the haters.
Adam, you have 1 minute
It's amazing.
left.
It's fine. I'm totally cool with rhetoric. Where it gets very ugly is when rhetoric turns into actual violence. So, Rob, if you want to show these stats, I don't give a shit what you say, but when we start talking about hate crimes, actual hate crimes, nobody is doing it like how they do to the Jews. You see that big blue number in the middle of the pie? That's the Jewish hate crimes.
And where is it? That's worldwide or United States?
This is worldwide.
Okay.
Okay? So there's Muslims in there. There's Christians in there.
Who is the
Jehovah's
chart?
Witnesses. Rob, you can check this. Rob could check it on that. By the way,
that's a blurry-ass photo.
There's a million different stats.
Oh, I believe it. I just want to know who it's from so we can tell the audience.
Rob could do that. Check that, Rob. So fact check that.
I believe it's CNN.
Okay.
Weird.
Well, if they said it, it can't be true, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
So I believe that Candace should say whatever the hell she wants to say. I believe you, the haters out there, should say whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, as far as a business situation goes, imagine me sitting next to PBD for 4 years now, and all I talked about was, I hate capitalism, I love DEI, I love wokeness, my hero's Dylan Mulvaney. I probably wouldn't be here too long. And that's what happened with...
Wait, you don't... All that is not your...
Yeah,
that's not my thing.
But the straw that broke the camel's back was the one thing. I think calling her anti-Semitic is complete BS, and then searching for shit in podcasts with the Rabbi Barkley when she goes, yeah, the Shmuley's daughter's a hag, and he goes, wait a minute, did you know in 1700 I understand anti-Semitism, but to be searching and digging to make that happen, because that's the straw. The straw was anything against Israel.
I could give two shits about what that one rabbi had to say to Candace.
But these are one rabbis that cost her job.
Okay,
it's
so
and her in conversation.
Rob, roll the tape of all the imams calling to kill the Jews. You were going to be here for the next 10 years.
We're talking about Candace Owens.
But my point is this. Hey, words are not violence. Separate the two. The bottom line is this. Candace is looking for a new job. I'm sure there's plenty of reputable media companies that would love to hire her.
Okay, so here's where we can wrap this story up here with Candace Owens and Daily Wire. Okay, the numbers will dictate if it's a good decision or a bad decision. The reality of it is, Ben Shapiro's, there's always going to be an audience for what he has to say. Candace Owens, there's always going to be an audience for what she has to say. I think Candace is just getting started. I think she's in her, how old is Candace? Early 30s? Like, is she in her late 20s, early 30s? She's early 30s?
Mid-30s.
34. Okay, well, good for her. She's 34 years old. She's going to be around for a long time to come. Ben Shapiro, how old is Ben Shapiro? Can you type in Ben Shapiro's age?
38?
No. He's in his 40s.
Okay, he's 40 years old. They're 6 years apart. They're both not going away, okay? They're both not going away anytime soon. And the market needs to hear both sides of their stories. We're going to see what happens here and how the market reacts, numbers-wise. It's very simple. The good news about podcasts and shows and everything nowadays, you can pretty much track on who's doing right and who's not because the data is public. You cannot hide. There's nothing worse than seeing numbers being live and they're growing, or worse, and you're like, oh my God, the market can tell I'm not doing good. That's what sucks about capitalism. Everybody sees it. This is why a lot of singers that were once big hits, that they used to have sellout crowds, now they're selling out small audiences or whatever they go. It's a very difficult phase to go through, and the market's going to be very direct to all of us in the next few years based on the decisions we make. That's what I bank on. But I want to wrap it up with this one story, which is kind of weird. Elevation Church, it's a pretty popular church. If you can pull them up, see who they are, Tom, I'm going to kind of come to you as well. Elevation Church reveals why they don't use words like resurrection on Easter invites. Hence, it's a terrible reason. Okay, all right, so let's see what they have to say. Some of you guys know this guy, who he is. If you want to put the senior pastor on who he is, Pro Church Tools recently sat down with Nikki Sharir, Elevation Church Digital Content Director. She is responsible for overseeing the all copy coming out of Elevation Church, 25,000 member multi-site led by Stephen Furtick. She gets the tone of church emails, blesses or nixes the language of social media posts, and develops guidelines for responding to events in the news. In a wide-range interview, Sharir explains why they don't use phrases in the church. Elevation Church does not like the words like resurrection, Calvary, or blood of Jesus on its Easter invites, as that language will immediately make someone feel an outsider. Can you play this clip, Rob?
I'm talking all the way from people who have been in our church for years, and I want them to invite people to church, all the way to people who've never heard of our church before and trying to get them to come to church, right? People who are unchurched, you might say. And so how do I talk to those two people are really different. But I'm putting a lot of my focus, energy, time, resources toward what I would call the cold audience as people far from God. And so I'm not going to say the word Calvary. I'm not going to say the word resurrection. I'm not going to say the blood of Jesus, right? I'm not going to say any of these words that make someone feel like an outsider. This is really important. An important guiding principle for how we develop language is anyone can be a part of our church.
Tom,
it might not be for everyone. Everyone might not like it.
She's triggered from the Bible.
So they have an organization and they have gatherings, and Stephen Furtick gets a lot of criticism from a lot of different pastors, including one we both know. I'm not going to put names out there because I don't need to create drama. But, if you are a Christian church, then you have your Bible, you have your New Testament, and you don't need to amplify certain things, but you certainly don't change certain things. The message is the message. And on this Easter weekend, Good Friday is a day of remembrance. Christ died. He was crucified on a cross. That is just a description of what happened. And then he rose again, which is called a resurrection, which is a celebration of Easter Sunday, dying for the sins of mankind. Now, if someone walks up to you and like Alcoholics Anonymous, they wade into it. They say, hey, you should think about a higher power to maybe help you in your journey to find strength to get through your addiction. You don't hit them with 2 hours of heavy dialogue. You wade into it. And on one hand, if a church is wading into it with someone who's new, wading into it, that's one thing. But if you're going to take Easter and you're going to describing of something that it's not, then you're not really sharing the message. That's not the message. And there's a lot of criticism with this organization and other organizations that water it down or change the message. And, on Easter Sunday, there's a beautiful message that hey, we all sin and fallen short. Christ died on Good Friday for your sins, rose again on Easter, and he's there.
Do you think this is the right approach to take?
I don't think this is the right approach. I don't think the right approach is to basically hide the ball from people that are coming in to hear it. And I also don't think it would be the right approach that if somebody comes into an AA meeting or comes in, that you hit them hard, very, very heavy and emotional. Right. But that's not what they're doing here. They're basically talking about just watering it down. And there's a thing called seeker-sensitive and socially progressive language that I think waters down the message and really hides the ball of the message. And I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think when I look at Stephen Furtick, I think of somebody who's an incredible motivational speaker.
Agree.
One of the best motivational speakers on the way he delivers his message. And in regards to, I don't have a lot of information on him, but in regards to taking positions like this goes back to my point of Christians that are becoming tolerant Christians that are, apologizing about, what they stand for instead of being a little bit direct. And I think it's going in a different direction. This is kind of like saying, it's okay, let him in, it's okay, let him in, it's okay, let him in, it's okay, let him in. I don't know. I remember when I was at the church we were going to in LA, And they said there's a couple different ways to preach from the top. There's ways to preach where you're just kind of preaching to motivate people, and there's ways you preach that you're building disciples. If you just want to bring people in to preach and, become a motivational speaker, be as watered down as possible. If you want to develop disciples that are hardcore believers to go out there and build and run their own life groups and build other people, you got to take a different route. They've done something right to have 25,000 people there. I just don't know if this is the right approach to take for others to follow. Anyways, having said that, we are at the end of the podcast. It's 11:49. We rarely go this late, but we had so many different stories to cover. Today's what? Today's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Rob, I think we may have a podcast tomorrow. Stay tuned. We'll announce it to you guys. We do have somebody that's coming in that's going to be fun. Then we're doing a podcast on Thursday, which I believe Trump's lawyer may be coming back on Thursday with us on a live podcast to kind of give us some perspective on what's going on. And then we may have some things going on Friday as well. Having said that, have a good one, everybody. We'll do it again tomorrow, maybe on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.